You're listening to the ESO Network, your station for all things geek.
And welcome to the 42 Cast, your ultimate answer to fandom, geekiness, and everything. I am Captain Nathan Laws, as normal, and we are here to talk to you about Star Trek Strange New World Season 3. But before we do that, let's meet our crew this week. So, starting off, she is my first officer, and that is Stephanie.
Woo, woo.
How are you doing, Stephanie?
I'm doing all right. Yeah, recovering from a round of COVID, which is always fun, but I'm doing all right otherwise.
Have you been able to do anything fun recently?
Well, I mean, I went to Colossal Con North, which is where I got COVID. But that was a lot of fun. I was one of the judges for craftsmanship, performance, and the in-character cosplay. So that's always a lot of fun. And then last weekend, I was very grateful I got COVID over Thanksgiving when I had plans to do nothing for Thanksgiving, because last weekend I went to Philadelphia to go see my favorite band in concert, and that show was spectacular. But
wouldn't it have been better to have no COVID, even though you weren't doing anything on Thanksgiving? Because it sounded like you were grateful for having COVID.
If I was going to have it, I was glad to have it that weekend instead of getting it catching it at Thanksgiving and then having to miss my concert.
Yeah, no, I get that. It's just the way you phrased it. Sounded like you're like, I am so grateful that I had COVID.
No, I am not grateful about that, especially because I'm still coughing. But if I had to get it, I was happier to have it over Thanksgiving than I was to have it last week. Because I got VIP tickets, I had a meet and greet, got a picture with the band and all that type of stuff. So I would have been really, really sad. I was already like, when am I going to test negative again? Damn it, because I really want to go. But thankfully, I did test negative well beforehand, and my fever broke even before that, and so I was good to go. And it was also the tail end of the tours too. So, I mean, I hope that band got sick at all, it wouldn't have been because of me, but the tour's over now officially.
Okay.
So, but yeah.
Well, yes, I am glad that your COVID did not interfere with you getting out to go see a band and have a fun time. And it's good to have you back on the show.
Yes, likewise. Well, good to be back? I don't know.
Sure, that's good enough.
Sure, whatever.
All right, next up, we have Science Officer Ashley Pauls. How are you doing, Ashley?
Good. Thank you so much for having me back. This is one of my favorite shows, so I'm really excited to talk about it with you all.
Yeah. Now, I should have looked this up beforehand, but have we talked about... I mean, I know you've mentioned Star Trek on the show before, but have you been on to talk about Star Trek on the show?
I have not really. Everyone kind of knows me as like the Star Wars, that's kind of my primary fandom, or has been for a long time. But
I never would have guessed from your
background. You might have some pictures behind you on the wall.
As you can see my office decor here, so that may be a slight hint there. But yes, I have been dipping my toes in the Star Trek waters, and I'm sure we'll get into a little bit more of that later. I have a little bit of a non-traditional path to my Star Trek fandom, but very, very glad to be here and talk about this show with you all.
Yeah, no, it's always great to have you, Ashley. So anything new and exciting going on for you since the last time you were on? I think we were talking about a movie. last
Yes.
time.
Yeah, I've been working on some geeky crafting. I have been crocheting some K-pop Demon Hunter dolls because Netflix was not prepared for the popularity of that series and there's not a lot of merch yet. So I'm just making some of my own. And then next year for cons, I'm working on a Dungeon Crawler Carl inspired cosplay. So more to come, but it's kind of fun to be getting back into some geeky crafting things since that's another one of my geek interests.
Oh, very cool. Yeah, I'm glad you're able to do all of that, and it's good to have you back on the show, Ashley.
Thanks.
All right, next up we have Chief Engineer Nate Benton. How are you doing, Nate?
Doing great. Just trying to survive the frigid temperatures here in North Carolina. There was a Christmas parade that was going to happen tonight, and they canceled it because it was going to be 14 degrees.
Yeah, do you want to know what it's been here?
For a North Carolinian, that's pretty.
I know.
That's pretty cold.
I lived in North Carolina for 3 years. I know.
Yeah, they're not prepared for it, but I'm sure up there in the frozen wastes of Wisconsin or wherever,
it got down to -2 here.
Yeah, I remember those times. I used to live out west in Utah, and we would see like negative double digits or days at a time.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, I'm sure at some point this year we will see negative double digits. It just wasn't quite that cold this time, but
yeah, it's a mild winter. So yeah, we're just hunkering down, bought all the milk and bread, and we're gonna be just fine, I think.
Yeah. Oh well. Anyway, that was colder than I expected. I thought you were going to be like, "Oh God, it was like 40 degrees here," and it's just cold. It's just like
they said, yeah, it was for my kids' Boy Scout troop, and they were like, "Oh yeah, because of the frigid temperatures," and I'm like, "Well, 13's cold, but I don't know if it's frigid." The fridge, the freezer temperature is frigid.
I will say it did get down to like 17 degrees one time when I lived in Florida. And that was a problem because we started having blackouts because everybody turned on their heat, which doesn't normally happen in Florida. And they just weren't prepared for it. And like the grid went down. So now we're all freezing in our houses because we don't have heat. And that was a significant problem. And nobody's got fireplaces in Florida either because, you never need it, So it was, that was bad. But. Yeah. Well, I mean, other than the fact that, you're dealing with the frigid temperatures, anything new and exciting going on for you, Nate?
I started a rewatch of Game of Thrones with my girlfriend who's never watched it before. And we did the trauma of Ned Stark of being beheaded, and she was like, "Oh my gosh." And then Daenerys, and she's like, "Oh, I love Daenerys so much." And I'm like, "I know." Just wait.
Have you prepared her for some?
No, I'm not.
Okay.
I'm doing the raw. I'm not. No red wedding. Nothing. I'm not telling her nothing.
Whenever I show anything to anyone, I do not tell them what they're gonna experience.
I mean, there's sometimes they're like context stuff. I'd be like, "Hey, so they just said Valerian still, like, capital V Valerian. Valerian steel is steel forged by dragons, the Targaryens, and so it like never needs to be sharpened. It's the closest thing you get to a magic sword. That's it. Just like little context things like that, just little enhancements, but no spoilers. No, I want her to be as abused emotionally as I was.
Oh, I know. I'm still not over the red wedding. Like, my husband heard me yelling at the TV from the basement. Like, that's how upset I was.
He jumped out of the couch when they cut off Ned's head. She's like, "I thought they were going to let him live. He has to live. He's the hero." I'm like, "Oh no, he's not the hero."
He's Sean Bean. Of course he's not.
Yes.
He's Sean Bean.
But every time that happens, just tell me you're looking at her and going, "Oh, my sweet summer child."
I actually... Yeah, when she said she loved Daenerys, I said, "My sweet summer child." She's like, "What? What happens to her?" I said, "She makes it to the end. She makes it to the end." She's like, "Okay."
The last episode,
and she loves Sam and John, and I'm like, "Oh, those guys are buddies to the end. They're buddies to the end." She's like, "Really? Oh, that makes me happy." I'm like, "Okay."
Yeah. Well, I understand that, and I understand like showing things that you love to somebody that you're close to, because I've always enjoyed doing that. And like,
I thought about like, let's start with House of Dragon. chronologically, right? But I was like, there's too much context in House of Dragon that you have to watch Game of Thrones to understand House of Dragon.
I've come that way myself in recent years because I used to be obsessed with doing things chronologically. And like now I feel like the order that things were released, whether it's a novel series or whether it's a TV show, is better because there are things sometimes that you're not supposed to know that a prequel will tell you that then spoils the reveal in like the original material where I'm like, you know what, I'm just going to read it in release order, like if it's like a book series or watch it in release order or whatever, just so that way I get the context they wanted me to have with the story, even though the story does jump in time, you know.
Yeah.
So yeah.
As an author who's done prequels, that's I've intentionally written them to be read that way. Like if you read it chronologically, you're going to get spoilers for the actual series. You gotta go in intended order.
All right, that's good to have you back on the show, Nate.
Glad to be here.
And finally, we've already heard him. It is third technician Ryan Guthrie. How are you doing, Ryan?
I was expecting ensign, so this is.
No, you're not even an officer, Ryan. You're.
I mean, you know what? Who's the most important person in Starfleet history? So I'll take a non-com any day. You know?
All right. So yeah, how have things been going, Ryan?
Well, you know, not to brag to everyone, but we just got our first freeze warning tonight, and it's supposed to be back up to 80 next week. So you know, whatever. Yeah. So I'm over here like I'm literally thinking about taking my shirt off. I'm kind of warm in here. You know? AC's not on, heater's not on, nothing. You know.
You know, I would think even the alley behind the Starbucks that you stream from is still cold if there's a freeze warning.
Well, you would think, but all the raccoons and possums, we generate enough heat together to keep us all. You know, it's nice and cozy. You know? As long as the feral cats don't show up, it's a peace.
People don't know because I don't put out the video, but it really looks like Ryan is in a back alley somewhere. Like he's in like some like, you know, but like between two like businesses or something, and he's just like brick background. Like what is that?
Next podcast, I'm gonna put like a little cardboard sign up here saying, you know, please help. You know,
He's doing a tight five down at the Laugh Factory.
Yeah, there you go. Okay. Never. But interestingly enough, I'm living a bachelor life right now. My girlfriend's out of town in Philadelphia. So that's twice in this podcast that's come up. Yeah, she's opening a new restaurant up there. So she's been there for a month. And so like I'm looking around the place and thinking I need to probably start cleaning up. Like maybe do some laundry. I don't know. You know?
All right.
Yeah,
well,
so, yeah. Other than that, I've just been caught up on Pluribus. Highly recommend.
Oh, okay. Now, is that season done yet, or is it still coming out?
There's one episode left.
Yeah, I'll probably get to that now that it's out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it's straight up science fiction, but it's also if you like Vince Gilligan, you know, Breaking Bad and all that. It's in Albuquerque, you know. I mean, there's a bit of that style and humor to it.
All right, well, very cool, and it is good to have you back on the show, Ryan.
Good to be here.
All right, so you know what time it is. It's time for our 5-minute controversy. And for those of you just joining the show, the 5-minute controversy is a way for us to loosen up before we talk about the main topic and also give you some insight into how we feel about something going on in the geekosphere. But this time, we have one that's kind of apropos to our discussion topic. And that is an article that came out recently. Well, actually, it was published in a few different places. But basically, it was because Rick Berman and Brannon Braga had discussed watching New Trek on the podcast Decon Chamber that has Connor Trenier and Trip Tucker as... Connor Trenier and Dominic Keating as the hosts of that podcast. So, you know, two people from Enterprise. And basically what Berman said is, I watched an episode of one of the newer Star Treks where people were saying things like, give me 5, and it just doesn't sit right with me. There's a certain classical element to Star Trek. And Braga followed on with, the tone in Star Trek is kind of a timeless one. It's a bit more formal, but at the same time, you don't want it to be too stiff. You want it to not be tainted by contemporary idioms. So I'm kind of curious what you guys think. So obviously you're coming on to talk about a new Trek, series. And so what do you think about these criticisms of New Trek? 'Cause I do believe that factually they are correct, that I believe that New Trek does utilize more contemporary speech forms than was historically what Trek stuff did in either the 60s or like the 80s and 90s. So what do you think about that? Let's start with you, Nate.
I think it's interesting that the guy who single-handedly turned me off Star Trek for a decade is complaining about new Star Trek that I really like. I do not like Braga. I did not like Voyager. He specifically said at Comic Cons, they were like, well, how many space shuttles do they have? It seems like they have 1 or 3, and how much lithium they seem to have is in a super state of plenty or not enough. And he's like, that's not really the story we're telling. You're like, science fiction one where you're like facts and numbers and like how many resources they actually have, and like they're I was like, oh cool, a ship without the backing of Starfleet's resources have to like scavenge and barter and operate. I was like, that's really cool. And they're like, no, we're just gonna hyper evolve Tom Paris because he went to warp 10, or we're gonna do the
Braga has officially apologized for that episode.
He still wrote it. He still ran the show.
I know.
I mean, he ran the whole season until he went and did Enterprise. So I don't know. They're kind of like old school Trek, and Trek Next Generation had a certain tone to it, but so did DS9 and so did Voyager. And Brennan is not a great guy with the way he treats women on set. So I really he doesn't hold a lot of weight with his opinion about Star Trek. He's just mad the women aren't wearing cat suits in the Strange New Worlds. So.
All right. That's a lot of stuff about Braga, but I mean, what do you think about the idea of like, do you feel like Star Trek should be something that's more timeless, or do you feel like the utilizing the modern vernacular and idioms and whatnot? Do you feel
they use modern and vernacular idioms in and I mean, I read the article today, so I couldn't go dive back into Next Generation and find all the episodes where Data says something from the past, or Kirk played the Beastie Boys, or there's so many, Generations was full of idioms, and so was Star Trek. I mean, they do it themselves, so I don't understand their argument. But there's always idioms in there. There's always a callback to there's this ancient classical music called Metallica.
Well, yeah, I mean,
they reference it all the time.
Okay, I think that they're talking more about, though, it's so newer Trek, and I believe this is correct, is more rooted in now, like the now of the audience, whereas older Trek would reference stuff in history, but it would be more of the broad swath of history and not just this is like they're not saying like, hey dude, Cowabunga in Next Generation, even though that timely I
think all art reflects the context in which it was made.
Okay.
So early 90s Shakespeare and plays, and that classical way of talking, and that changed over time. If you look at every different series of Star Trek, they're all different tones. They're all speaking differently. So like I said, I think it just reflects the context of now, and it just sounds like two old dudes who are out of touch complaining about something new that they don't understand. Right. It's like kids these days, that's not the Star Trek I grew up with. Well, yeah, of course it's not, because you're grown up.
Okay.
We're making Star Trek for kids to grow up now, and this is what they want to see. So,
okay, all right, Ryan, what do you think about this? Oh, All right, Stephanie's raising her hand, and so because Stephanie's raising her hand, I'm going to call on Stephanie.
She's following the rules.
That's right.
The bylaws.
I don't think there are rules here, but yes, I will.
Just because she outranks me, I mean, that's
right.
not...
Well, the one thing
here's the thing. Stephanie, I've talked for hours and hours and hours in person about Star Trek, so she is my Star Trek ride or die.
One thing that really stood out to me about that article is the fact that I think a little bit of potentially eventually outdated vernacular is going to hold up a lot better than using allegories instead of representation, as one of them said, that they would rather use allegories than actual representation. No, this is going to hold up better than, pussyfooting around any of the LGBT plus community and things like that. Not to mention, outdated vernacular is going to hold up a lot better than rampant misogyny. So, as much as I love some of those, I love the original classic tracks and all that type of stuff. They are full of other types of problematic things that I think will be looked upon a little bit more sourly than people talking a little bit more casually.
Okay. Ryan?
Here's the thing. As far as my outrage meter goes, this is pretty low.
Sure, that's fine. It was an article that I read recently, so I put it out there, yeah.
And I do feel the article is a little incoherent. I mean, we have this one subject we're talking about, the language they use in Trek, but then it does, dip its foot, more than its toe, its foot, and then some, into, misogyny and allegory versus representation. And those are all worthwhile discussions and things that the Killer Bees should definitely be dinged for. And I hate that I'm saying this, I kind of agree with them on this one. Star Trek, it's not a big deal, like I said, but Star Trek was started, in the 60s, and TV was different in that era. There are certain rules, good or bad, and Roddenberry kind of created this system, this legacy that's lived on since then. And I understand the concept that they're saying that if you make Star Trek timeless, you can special effects aside, you can watch it in any era, and it's pretty much the same. You're not kind of kicked out of it by someone saying bet or vibe or something like that, because that's where
God
this
forbid I rue the day when somebody in Strange New World's going to talk about Riz. And then I'm just going to
I mean, in the next episode of, and that's just it. I mean, we've got coming down the pipeline Starfleet Academy, right? And is someone going to go 6-7? I still don't know what that means, but it's someone's going to do it, and fine, maybe that's neat now, and maybe you're having this moment where you attract an audience, but it's going to be, to use another current term, it's going to be really cringe in 5 or 10 years, seeing all of that, if that's the trajectory it's going. I understand that. The Kelvin universe used Beastie Boys and so forth, and we do have a lot of, but those are more artistic references. Those are more, yes, we mentioned this author, this scientist, this music. It's not necessarily just the day-to-day language. Now, I rationalize it in my head. I tell myself, we're hearing all this through the universal translator. There's no reason to think any of these people are speaking English to begin with. So it doesn't really even matter. And even if they are speaking English, it's going to be English that's 300 years into the future. And then I also argue that Discovery, outside of Enterprise, Discovery and Strange New Worlds are the closest in time to us. They're only arguably a few generations away. So it's entirely, there are going to be some leftovers. There are going to be some holdovers, kind of like how we say hang up the phone, even though no one actually does that anymore. So it's just, I don't know, it's just not a hill I'm going to die on, but I hate this because I hate these two men for what they did to a lot of Star Trek. But I actually kind of agree with them. I think it should be kind of universally generic in this one respect. I'm all for representation, but at the same time, you can make the argument that having a generic language makes it more accessible to everyone.
Hey, Ashley?
Yeah, so I would say for me as a fan, hearing like modern idioms doesn't really bother me too much, like in the scope of the story. Like if a good story is being told with good characters, and I agree with what you said, Nate, about how media inevitably affects or reflects the time that it's made in. Like I feel like it's just kind of impossible some ways for us to fully get out of. If I'm writing a story, filming a show here in 2025, some of the current events and current ways people talk are going to filter in through that. I definitely don't want to see like super on trend words like Riz or something like you, or 6-7 like you guys were talking about. Like I think that like 5 years down the road is going to take people out. But I feel like if the story is good, then people aren't going to necessarily be bothered by some so-called more modern phrases within the storytelling.
Yeah, I feel
I don't
like
think there were that many super slangy things that have been said.
Yeah.
I was just really bothered by that statement of choosing allegory over representation.
yeah, I'm sorry because I tried to find something that I had read earlier and I didn't check the whole article. I just found, oh, this article is talking about the thing, so I should have been specific. I'm very much talking about this particular thing about the language. But yeah, the thing is, I fear that we're conflating a lot of our distaste for Brannon Braga with what they're actually saying, because this is a thing that and I feel like this has happened to me already before, because it was one of my criticisms of New Doctor Who when it came back in 2005. And it's like, my God, they are so steeped in modern slang and everything, whereas classical Doctor Who had been very much like they tried to speak in a way that was like not very much, except for particular characters who came from a particular time. That was fine. But the Doctor themselves was, tended to be more of a, like, because you travel all in time. So why would you be so focused on modern speech and whatnot? And so I do feel like it ages poorly. And I know now, like, because, New Doctor Who's been around since 2005, so it's not so new anymore, that people have mentioned, at cons that I've been to, that they're like, you know what? It does actually age poorer going back and watching those early, like, 2005 New Who, like, kind of episodes versus going back and watching, like, 70s and 80s Doctor Who, just because of the fact that, like, the speech is so mired in, like, what was, like, common then, And so I do feel like it is a downside, because I do feel like modern Trek does try very hard to sound like, like I can't imagine like high fives in Next Gen, like as an example that comes from this. Like I can't imagine people just like giving each other high, because it just seemed like so weird, which isn't speech, but it is part of just like sort of like modern like ways of life. Like it would seem odd to see people trading high fives. And so like it's just I don't know, it doesn't sit well with me. Is it a big deal, to Ryan's point? No, it's not, but it is something that I do think that like it is one of the things that I think New Trek, by trying to chase the audience so much, it is one of the ways that I feel like New Trek does kind of water down like the story a little bit. And I do fear that it will age more poor. Like 10 years from now, looking back at the Trek of now, I feel like it will seem more dated than the older Treks do. But I mean, we'll see, obviously. But yeah, I do think that there's some merit to what they're saying, even though I also do not like Brannon Braga. And if you want to hear my commentary on that, listen to the Voyager podcast that'll be coming out, where I do say quite a bit. And eventually when we record an Enterprise podcast, that'll come out again, because oh my God, that's Brannon Braga with absolutely nothing restraining them. So there's even more to talk about.
We haven't done Enterprise yet, have we?
No, we haven't done Enterprise yet.
Oh man. I'll have words.
Yeah. At least they had Jerry Taylor in the beginning of Voyager restraining the Brannon Braga influence. But yeah. Anyway. All right. Well, all right. That's enough for our 5+ minute controversy. But yeah, we're going to talk about Star Trek Strange New World Season 3. But before we do that, let's pause for a moment for a promo from another fine podcast.
Riddle me this. What do you get when you cross the 60s Batman show with Drew and Mike's recaps and reviews?
Holy Captain Obvious! That's easy. The Bat Chums Podcast.
Riddle number 2. How do the Bat Chums get across the road?
You don't have to be the world's greatest detective to know that. They're on YouTube and the ESO network. Just go to batchums.com for more info. And what's with all these ridiculous riddles?
Don't worry. the worst are yet to come.
And we're back. And like we mentioned at the beginning of the show, we are in fact not talking about Brannon Braga. We are talking about Strange New Worlds Season 3. Ryan and Ashley have never talked to us about Strange New Worlds before, so we haven't gotten their point of view on the series as a whole. So Ashley, in just like a few sentences, what did you think about sort of like the concept of... In fact, actually, let me go back a little further, because you mentioned that you have an unusual pathway to Star Trek. So why don't you tell us about your pathway to Star Trek first, then tell us, before, not talking about Season 3, but just sort of like the idea and premise of Strange New Worlds and getting into it in the beginning, like how you feel about Strange New Worlds as a series.
Yes. So whenever I tell my Star Trek story, I always recommend people like, don't eject me out the airlock here. Just like the story comes full circle. So, but yeah, so growing up, my dad was huge into Star Trek, but I was like way more into Star Wars. Like Star Wars was my space franchise. I watched a few Trek episodes here and there. They didn't really resonate with me. When I was in college, the first Kelvinverse movie, 2009.
Can I ask a quick question? I'm sorry to interrupt you, Ashley, but
Sure.
Are you aware what series of Star Trek you were watching when you said you watched it here and there?
Original series, Next Generation. But yes, I know these are terrible things to confess as a geek, but like I promise it all comes around to a happy ending. But yeah, so I was in college and the trailer for the 2009 J.J. Abrams Star Trek movie dropped, and something about that really like piqued my interest. And so I went with my friend. We went on opening night. We stood in line, and I absolutely fell head over heels in love with that movie. I just thought it was great. I went back multiple times to see it in the theater. But because of that movie, I was like, I really like these characters. There's something really cool here. So my friend and I, we spent the summer going back and started rewatching the original series. We watched through the movies with the cast like William Shatner, Nichelle Nichols, and we started watching the original series, and I fell in love with that as well. For some reason, the 2009 movie was my gateway, and it just opened the door for me, and I went back and started watching all the original series, and those movies just add like Kirk, Spock, McCoy. Those characters are my heart in Star Trek and still my favorite era. And so I've started dipping my toes into some other things in Trek. I watched some of Picard and really liked that, and it's still on my geeky to-do list to start getting into Next Generation. But the original series is really my favorite thing about Star Trek, just because those characters are so timeless, and I think there's really something special and powerful there that transcends the decades. And so when I heard that they were making Strange New Worlds and it's set kind of in that similar original series timeline, I knew that that was a show I had to watch right away, and I absolutely loved it. I love how it kind of brought in some of that flavor of classic Trek with also some, modern up-to-date ideas as well. It was cool to see some classic characters, but I like that there were also new characters too, like Ortegas and some of characters who are maybe mentioned more briefly in the original series, but now got to have kind of their own stories. So yeah, I quickly became a really big fan of this show, and I'm excited to see that it resonated with other fans and that they're getting to tell a 5-season story arc. So yeah, I have really enjoyed the series, and I'm looking forward to getting to talk about Series 3 because, like I mentioned, I haven't really done much Trek podcasting in the past, so I'm kind of excited to delve into, to boldly go into this new franchise, as it were.
Yeah. Somehow I knew that story already, and I can't remember whether you had mentioned it on a prior podcast or if I read it in an article you had written or something. I knew that, but yeah, to get it out for everybody else to understand where you're coming from also, I thought was important. Although I will tell you, My oldest daughter, I could not get her into anything. And one day, like, I was trying to show her all these Star Wars, everything. She just did not care. And I just happened to be watching original series Star Trek on TV. And she just, like, her iPad started drooping and she started looking up. And I was like, are you watching this? And she's like, yeah. And she, like, got really into it. And so we started watching all of original Trek. So, I'm just saying, I think you're right. I think there is a timeless quality to
Yeah.
original Trek that is something special. So,
Like
yeah.
even my 4-year-old, she really likes Spock. Like for some reason, she really like latched
For
on
Rachel,
to that.
Spock was her absolute favorite also, which as a kid, Spock was my favorite also.
Yes.
So yeah, I understand.
So yeah, I know that the Kelvin movies have their, controversy around them, and like totally respect for fans that wasn't, if that's not their thing, or didn't care for those as much. But I am grateful to them for opening that door for me and getting me to go back and take a deeper look and gain an appreciation for some of these classic stories. So grateful that kind of kicked me off on my journey.
Yeah, Ryan, I have been surprised because I looked and you did 2 episodes on Discovery. You did seasons 1 and 3 of Discovery. You were actually supposed to be on season 5 and you joined us very briefly, and then like you dropped out before we actually started talking about Discovery, season 5. And you were on Picard season 2. Of all the Picard seasons to do, you did season 2. But you've never talked about Strange New Worlds. So yeah, like what are your thoughts on Strange New Worlds, like just as a concept, and what you thought of the early seasons?
Sure. Well, I do want to quickly say that I have to apologize. I thought we were talking about Secret Lives of Mormon Wives, so I'm completely unprepared for this conversation.
That's Nate's shtick, to come unprepared for an episode.
But no, I mean, I do want to say,
for those who don't know, we did a Resident Alien episode that was supposed to be seasons 1 and 2 combined, and Nate showed up having only watched season 1, so that's where that's
one time.
I know.
I play a humanoid orca in one D&D campaign and miss one season of a show, and that's who I am the rest of my life.
I mean, Nate, if it makes you feel any better, I watched the last 2 episodes of Strange New World earlier today. So
No.
Yes, the reason why this episode's
them, right?
recording is so late after they finished dropping is I was waiting for Stephanie.
Which was Tim's fault, and I finally gave up and just watched it without him.
I'm pretty sure that happened last
out,
season too, where you just gave up and started watching it without him too.
I found out that it's because of his best friend who keeps bashing it before we start watching it. And I today was like, Mike, you gotta stop this, because I like watching Star Trek with Tim, and you are ruining this for me. Let us have our Star Trek together.
All right, but yeah, anyway, Ryan, what are your thoughts on Strange New Worlds? You went afar afield.
No, that's quite all right. I also just want to say to Ashley's story that I've always felt that like the 2009 movie was not meant for old Trekkers. That was meant for new Trekkers, to bring in new people. I mean, you could just tell everything about it. There's things about it I didn't like, and I won't nitpick it here because that's not this podcast. But I know it wasn't necessarily for me. I could enjoy it, but how many people I saw who weren't into Star Trek? How many conventions after 2009? How many conventions I went to where I saw young people dressed up in the Kelvin uniforms? It just amazed me, and so for that reason, love it or hate it, it was worth it. But as far as Strange New Worlds goes, oh man, has any show started off with such potential?
Oh, we're front loading. Okay.
No, I'm just saying. When the Enterprise showed up, what was it? The end of season 1 of Discovery?
Yeah, it was the end of season 1 of Discovery. Yep.
Oh man! And then we had to wait. We did all of season 2 of Discovery, but then we had to wait almost 2 years, a year and a half before we got the first season of Strange New Worlds, and it was everything. I really thought it was the pinnacle of new Trek, at least season 1 of it. Yeah, the characters, the settings, everything about it started off so strong, and I loved it. I have thoughts going on into seasons 2 and 3, which I'm guessing we're going to get to. But yeah, I guess my thing though is I will forgive Star Trek just about anything. It's my original nerddom. Any Star Trek show that comes out, I've seen it probably the week that it came out, if not the night that it came out.
Mm.
So yeah,
Do you forgive it, Section 31?
the move. I forgive it.
I
But
pretend it
I
doesn't
don't
exist.
I
Found the
forgive, but I
breaking
don't
point.
forget. Yeah. No, I mean, it's interesting you mentioned that because I was going to say the Section 31, maybe this is because I'm old now, but the Section 31 movie and then one episode of Strange New Worlds in this season, season 3, are the only Star Treks I've ever fallen asleep while I was watching it and had to go back and rewatch it.
Okay.
But all in all, I enjoy Strange New Worlds across the board, and it averages out. It's average enjoyment for me. If you go from season 1 to now, it's still pretty high.
Okay. Okay. And I will reiterate a few things now for just the record if people are joining us for the first time and haven't heard my commentaries on Discovery or Strange New Worlds, or, for those of my castmates here, if you weren't on those previous podcasts, there are a few things. Like when the Enterprise showed up at the end of season 1 of Discovery, I said, absolutely, the one thing that I don't want to hear is, oh, here's Lieutenant Kirk. Because I was like, I don't want them throwing in characters from the future. So that was something I said well before we ever saw that they were going to start doing things like that. And in season 2, I was highly critical of the fact that for a show called Strange New Worlds, there was not a single Strange New World in all of season 2 of Star Trek Strange New Worlds. It was like, what is going on here? That's the whole premise of the show. And every single episode was either a race they had already encountered, a planet they had already been to, a Federation installation. It was like, where are the Strange New Worlds? So that, and I do feel for season 3, getting now into season 3, that is the one thing they did deliver on. They did give me a Strange New World. So I'm like, all right, guys, at least you gave me one. So, all right, so a little bit to Ryan's point, since Ryan's already brought it up, and I was kind of thinking I was going to start here anyway. I personally feel there was a marked dip in quality this season. I felt that there was an unevenness where, like Ryan, I thought Strange New World season 1 was very strong. I thought season 2 was a little rocky. And season 3, I felt was kind of all over the map. And so I'm just really quick before we start going into reasons or things we felt about individual episodes or anything like that. I'm just curious if you all feel the same way about that. So Ryan, since I'm pretty sure you agree with me on this, right?
100%.
Okay. Ashley, what are your thoughts on season 3 versus 1 and 2?
Yeah, I would say that season 1 remains my favorite. Like there was just something really special there and everything just kind of coalesced. I feel like seasons 2 and 3 are pretty much even for me. Like I just love these characters so much, so I really like seeing them. I like watching them interact. There were some really standout episodes I thought this time, some other episodes that maybe veered a little too far afield and even into somewhat parody, but yeah, I still really enjoy the show and like it, but there may be some things I'm kind of curious or concerned about for the future as we go forward here. But overall, still enjoyed watching it and still just really like these characters.
Okay. Nate?
Yeah, I had some issues with the larger plot, the Vesda plot. I thought was weaker, but I really did enjoy the more episodic episodes. I felt like I don't know why. There was a change in tone in writing this season as opposed to the first 2 seasons. I think they were trying to find their footing on: are we going to be more grand arc Next Generation? Or are we going to be more episodic like TOS? Or more like long form storytelling like DS9 or something. So it felt confused this season, and it's not its best season.
Yeah,
there were highlights. There were highlights. There were things I really, really liked, but there were also things I really, really didn't like.
Yeah, I mean, you mentioned a tone. I don't think there was a tone. I think the tone was all over the map because we had dark horror juxtaposed with like laugh hour. Like, you know, like, it was like we went across the broad spectrum here and we kept ping-ponging. Stephanie, what do you think about the season versus the previous ones?
Apparently the odd one out, because I thought it was delightful.
Okay.
There were 2 episodes I was kind of meh on, but overall the other ones I found to be quite entertaining, and I enjoyed it a lot. Yeah, I found this particular season to be an absolute joy to watch.
Okay.
Which is all the more reason why I was annoyed at the delay I had in watching it, because I was like, oh my God, I put this off for so long and I'm thoroughly enjoying it. So screw you, Mike. I need to make sure he doesn't talk Trek to Tim before I manage to get him to watch episodes with me.
Although, to be fair, Stephanie, this is kind of an MO for you where you're like, you know, hey, I watched like, you know, all of Star Trek the animated series at double speed, or, you know, like I watched Star Trek the motion picture at double speed, like before we start talking.
Okay,
like
with the motion picture, that's just how I watched that one. With the animated series, you made me watch that one. And I'm still waiting for my Lower Decks episode, damn it, because I love the Lower Decks.
We're bound by contract, Stephanie. Like, you must watch any Star Trek episode.
I know, and that's why I made it through the animated series. So you need to actually, like, get on with Lower Decks here, because I don't know. Have you actually watched it? The last time I heard you talk about it, you were just complaining about it, and I love.
Yeah, no. I've seen all of it. I don't want to have an episode where all I'm doing is complaining the whole time. So, you know, that's the thing. But
well, then you'll have me counterbalancing with absolutely fangirling over the whole thing. So
yeah. Okay, no, but
I mean, I got a new cat, and one of the tentative names for him was Boimler. We ended up on Joxer, which is basically the same type of character.
Yeah.
Joxer the Mighty! Yes!
And it's this little black kitten that is so afraid of everything. So it seemed like a very appropriate name.
I was afraid you were going to say Tuvix.
Well, see, I have a Neelix. My other cat, Lupin, I wanted to name Tuvok, but Tim said no when we got him. But yeah, if I had Neelix and Tuvok, he definitely would have been Tuvix. But yeah, Boimler was a consideration, and eventually Joxer was the name that won.
I absolutely love that you chose Joxer. That's great. Great. But all right. So yeah, Strange New World season 3. So Stephanie, I'm just kind of curious, which are the 2 that for you just felt were kind of meh?
It was the Klingon zombies, the Klingon moss zombies, and the 4.5 Vulcans. That one I kind of have a bit of a. I liked parts of it. I really didn't like other parts of it.
Okay, yeah. So you kind of defeated this because I was thinking you were either going to pick. I thought it was going to be like maybe like the ones that were more horror themed were the ones that you were going to be like kind of mad. And you like the silly ones, but you picked one silly one and one horror one. So it's kind of like okay, like so that doesn't actually like help it out. But that to me is one of the things though. Like this season felt really deranged because we went from like horror to like Goonfest, and like nothing in the middle. It was like either the episodes have to be really out there goofy, or they've got to be like the dark horror kind of thing. And I agree with you, Stephanie. I think the zombie one was kind of incompetent. Like it wasn't even dark horror. Like it was kind of they wanted to be dark horror, but it was kind of like it was just like like it's not very scary. And so I was just kind of whereas honestly, let's gouge our eyes out was actually scary. So you know,
honestly, I kind of thought the moss zombies were funny.
Oh,
okay. Yeah, I kind of took that as a campy zombie episode, especially with Pike being like, they're zombies, and Mbenga's like, no, don't say that. And later on, Pike's like, I mean, they're acting like the Z word. I mean, it struck me as comedy zombie. Maybe not quite like Shaun of the Dead level, but like it was funny zombie.
It was vaguely reminiscent to me. There was a Star Wars horror novel that was written at one point with basically the same premise. It was a plant that caused people to rise as dead zombie type things, and it was I also felt that was horrible also. Like, I didn't care for that
Troopers,
novel.
wasn't that what it was called?
No, Red Harvest is what I was thinking of, actually.
Okay.
I don't know if that, yeah, but anyway, okay. So Ashley, for you, so you also mentioned that there were things about this season that were kind of iffy for you. So what were the things that kind of, bothered you about this season?
Yeah, so I felt like the opening scene, I felt like that kind of solved the opening episode kind of solved the problem of the Gorn a little bit too quickly, because you end with this cliffhanger in season 2 and it's a huge thing, and then it's just kind of solved and goes away. So that I felt like maybe was handled a little too quickly. I would have liked to see more in depth.
I realize you haven't gone back and watched through Next Gen, but it's the disappointment to me that was also in Best of Both Worlds Part 2 with like the Borg, where it's just like, put him to sleep.
Yes, it's like I kind of wanted to see a little more drama there. So, yeah, that was one thing I would have liked to see developed a little bit more. I did enjoy some of the funny episodes. I think Wedding Bell Blues was really funny. I enjoyed that. I chuckled throughout that. I did think that 4.5 Vulcans, as much as I laughed out loud at certain parts, like Pike's hair was something else, but it almost felt a little too much like a parody. Like, this would have been a great, like, special, like, bonus special episode or something that's not part of the regular continuum, because it almost kind of takes you out of the show. But then there are, I think, are very impactful dramatic moments. Like, it's the one where I think Through the Lens of Time, where they go to the planet and the new medical officer, who I really liked and was just commenting,
Gamble.
like, I think he's a great addition to the cast. I'm looking forward to seeing more of him. And then he wasn't wearing. Then
you did see more of him technically. In another episode.
Yeah. So, but yeah, like the idea of losing his eyes and the mysteriousness of that planet and the creature, that was genuinely very scary. And then another standout to me was Terrarium. I think the way that they worked through some of Ortega's, her trauma and her experience, and how they got you to feel empathy for Gorn, and even like her grief at losing the Gorn after that bond. I thought that was some really strong and impactful storytelling. And then the finale, I thought, almost had a little bit of Doctor Who energy, and I did enjoy the little potential Doctor Who reference in the finale. So yeah, I feel like there were some really high highs, but there were also some lows, and I'm sure we'll get into this later, but I'm still not sure how I feel about Spock and La'an. I'm still chewing on that one. So yeah, there's a lot to dive into here, I think.
Okay, Ryan, like, what were your thoughts, like, as far as things that were kind of shaky for you? Is it the same things, or is it anything that we haven't mentioned yet?
Some of the above, but I actually push back on a little bit of it. I mean, I get what you're saying about yeah, it feels like a lot of the season, it feels like there are two types of Star Trek storyline where they honor the past, like how Discovery did. The progenitors picked that up and ran with it, and then this season where it's like, well, we got nothing, so let's recycle something from the past, like, putting the Borg to sleep, or like the Pa Wraiths. I mean, and
I was waiting for them to connect those with the Pa Wraiths.
Yeah. The fact that they didn't, it's just it blows my mind. And that's what I'm saying, because up through season 2, I could headcanon so much. I could headcanon how, Kirk was on the ship in a way that didn't interfere with statements that made in TOS and so forth. And yes, I know they deliberately threw themselves the timelines changed a little bit, which is fine, but they could try a little bit harder to keep it on point.
It's too much. It is definitely too much with the references to things that haven't happened yet, or characters that we shouldn't have in it yet. Yeah, I agree.
I mean, they've forgotten what subtlety is. It feels like. Now, there are certain things, and also it feels like a lot of it was kind of lazy. There were aspects of Shuttle to Kinfori which I liked, because it dealt with Mbenga's, the whole thing with him and his internal guilt and confessing to Pike about everything. Now, on the one hand, it took away the ambiguity of the situation. We know for a fact what happened at the end of that episode, but the fact that he and Pike had this resolution, I did enjoy that. But nevertheless, the entire episode felt like someone just wanted to make a pun on Train to Busan, and like, we gotta do, Shuttle to Kinfori. I don't know what it's gonna be yet, but it's gonna be zombies, and it just felt like they worked ass backwards into that entire episode. And I felt kind of the same way with the holodeck episode. That's the one I fell asleep during and had to go back and rewatch because
I found that one painful.
It was hard. Yeah, that was probably my least favorite.
I thought it was so charming, and I absolutely loved that one.
I liked it too, Stephanie. I'll back you up on that one.
It was rough.
I thought there were so many fun little throwbacks to like the actual production of the original series. I thought it was hilarious having the new Kirk's actor talking with the later TOS and movie vernacular that Shatner used. And the vibes of just Data and Geordi against Moriarty. I was just absolutely like, oh, this is so charming and fun. And I was happy in the end where they're like, yeah, I don't recommend putting these on starships yet, because I was like, well, this is a huge too early thing. But then they made that a recommendation. I was like, okay, I can buy this. Okay, this episode was fun.
It was just, we only get 10 episodes per season, right? And like, I'm fine with having the occasional episode where the characters aren't playing themselves. Like, was it season 1 or season 2? I can't remember, whichever one where they did the fantasy episode with the book. That was beautifully done, and that was fine. But that was fun, and it's just like they said, oh, that one was successful, let's do it again. How can we get Anson Mount to play a silly character again? Sure, it was a send-up of Roddenberry, but it didn't land for me. But whereas, weirdly enough, for Vulcans, I liked it because, one, it established that the Vulcan, we didn't even see the away mission. They got down there and they solved it in 10 minutes, which is like really how it should be done, theoretically speaking. And they came back up there, and you see that the natural. They really thought it through. Like, if you're a Vulcan, like, you're suddenly smarter, suddenly stronger, suddenly all these other things, and you're guided by logic, of course you're going to be like, I'm going to stay a Vulcan now. And I think it was very fascinating what they did with La'an in that episode. And we saw we could see here kind of the origins of Romulans. It makes perfect sense. And I thought that was something they could have dived into and explored more. But following that up, the thing I hated most across the entire season was Spock La'an. It was just, it's like they had nothing else to do with the characters. It's like suddenly, again, they started recycling their own plots, and they gave Ortega the PTSD. So now La'an doesn't have it. So we have to give La'an something else to do, and that's going to be this romance with Spock. When she was just a dancing instructor, I thought, okay, all right, I'm cool. She's teaching him as a friend how to be more human to try and get Chapel back. But then it just turned into this situationship, and I was so bored of it really fast.
Okay. Nate?
I think for me, I liked the first of 4.5 Vulcans, and then I think that writers kind of like handed themselves into a corner, and they're like, okay, but what are the stakes? This is funny. It was like a joke. It was like, what if we made these 4 people act like Vulcans, and then how insufferable they'll be, and we can all just like put a mirror up to Spock and be like, this is how you are. And it's funny, the part we saw released at New York Comic Con, but then they were like, okay, how do we wrap this up? And the whole Doug ex-boyfriend thing, I was like, we're leaning too heavily on the Deus Ex Machina of psychic Vulcan magic. I think the strongest one is Terrarium. That was just because I love Enemy Mine.
I loved that episode, and I thought that was a great episode.
Yeah, it was the what if Enemy Mine but Star Trek.
Right.
That's great.
Enemy Mine was what I was thinking of watching that as well. Yeah. Yes.
And actually watched Enemy Mine after I watched that episode because I'll watch it again. But it was tight writing. The stakes were clear. it was well acted. I don't know if they had a mocap person playing the Gorn, but the actress that plays Ortega against whatever, obviously not a real Gorn, did an amazing job.
That wasn't a real Gorn?
Yeah, it wasn't. It was. I think it was computer generated. It wasn't a guy in a rubber suit like the original.
I thought it was an actual reptilian thing.
I'm not criticizing the Gorn design. I'm just saying she had to act against whatever was there. If it was be it a tennis ball or a guy in a mocap suit,
right? Yeah. She convinced you that she was with a Gorn.
She was pretty much alone on the set.
Mm-hmm.
In the volume or whatever they have for their special effects thing, like she did really good, and I think it was a very good episode. So for me, Terrarium's the strongest. 4.5 Falcons, middle, but for me, the Wedding Bell Blues weakest. But not a fan of the Wedding Bell Blues.
I am kind of surprised that it's kind of like all over the map as far as like what we're picking at.
Isn't it interesting?
I find that, I do find that interesting. But so to me, like the thing was, I was surprised hearing a lot of the feedback online about this season, because I thought that I was in the minority, because for the second season, I was critical of, it was going more like, into the silly area. And I was like, it's not really my cup of tea, but I figured I was pretty much alone in, not really liking that, because that seemed to be what everybody loved. They were like, well, I love the shenanigan episode, more shenanigans. And I was like, okay, I mean, that's fine, but like, don't you want some exploration, some actions? No, shenanigans. Okay, fine. You like shenanigans. Okay, whatever. And, and it felt like the mix was getting more in that area. And then this season was very much like, let's do like 6 shenanigan episodes, like 2 horror episodes, like 3 horror episodes, and like 1 like serious drama. Oh, okay, So it was, the mix. But I've heard a lot of people say like it's gone too silly, and that's been one of the things that I've heard. And then I kind of feel like that's part of the problem. And then I thought it was weird that on the other end, though, we tried to do like horror. And so I was like, we don't even like have like a lot in the middle here. Terrarium, I think, is the example of something that we did in the middle, that actually worked really well, where it was like, this wasn't horror, this wasn't silly, this was just like a dramatic, story about somebody with PTSD, like stuck with, something that triggers her, and having to get beyond that and realize like this is a person, like like you can't like treat them as like they're a thing that that even though her others of her species were like the ones that caused your trauma, you can't just do that. So I thought Terrarium was also, like probably the standout best episode of this season. And yeah, I mean, like the first one wasn't either, but like it also was kind of disappointing that it was just like, oh, okay, like, wow, this was so easy after the Gorn were set up as this major threat. And while I agree that it in the original track, when they met the Gorn, they like did not know a lot about the Gorn. But that ship's already said, like Strange New Worlds has already had the Gorn be such a big thing that they know so much about that it's like you can't like put it back in the box now. But it almost seemed like someone was like, we can't do Gorn anymore because in the originals. But I'm like, you already changed the continuity. You can't like. But I feel like that was the decision, was we're gonna put them back in a box and and pretend like we didn't ever do that. But yeah, it was like at this point I just wanted to see more Gorn stuff, because they had already set up the Gorn as the threat of this series, and now it feels kind of weird to like pivot like they did.
I mean, succeed or fail, it seems like they set themselves up with the Metrons to write themselves out of their Gorn corner that they painted themselves into. When the Metron was saying, we may have to change your perception in the future, I kind of took that to mean, and a lot of people online did, that they were going to literally change the memories of Starfleet, or like at the very least make them seem rubbery men.
I get that's what they did. I hate it. Like, I'm like, if you're gonna do this, then you might as well just go with it, rather than then try to retcon it with something so flimsy and kind of dumb. That's my own. I did not care for that at all. I thought throwing the Metrons into that episode also was not like necessary in any way.
It's not like they tried to make all of the Federation forget Peter Parker or anything like that.
But yeah, for me, like I still have strong issues with the constant usage of people from original Trek that they shoehorn into this. I feel like the Kirk Spock relationship has developed far too much, before Kirk is even on the Enterprise. And, when it was just like Kirk is there but interacts with the members of the crew that aren't on the original, aren't in original Star Trek. I was like, that's fine. Like he can interact with La'an, that's fine. He can interact, that all of that stuff was kind of like, okay, wink and a nod. We know Kirk's around, but he's not like actually in the cast or anything. That's fine. And remember, I don't know if anyone remembers, but in season 1, Uhura was just an intern that was just going to be there for a little while and then go back to the academy. I don't know. They're acting like now Uhura is just part of the ship. And I'm just like, wait, doesn't she have to finish like her schooling at some point? Like what's going on there? Like she was just
how long
an
is this
intern.
internship?
Yeah, exactly. So it's just like, I don't know. Like, even though they said that they're not going to end the show with everybody from original Trek, like I feel like with like next season, Sulu and McCoy are showing up. Like it's just because it's that much like on this show. So just.
I also I forgot to mention that before season 3 premiered, I met Paul Wesley, my job. We make the whiskey he makes with Ian Somerhalder called Brothers Bond. And they came in to shoot some commercials and stuff for their product. I went up to him. He was signing some bottles, and he didn't have the right marker, so I went and gave him the markers used to sign glass bottles with. And I said, I want to say that my dad and my brother watch Star Trek. We've watched Star Trek our whole lives. It's a family affair. We watch Star Trek Next Generation every day, every week. When it was on the air, and I just want to say we really like your captain, your James T. Kirk, and you're making it your own. And anyways, gave him a big compliment, and then he was like, "Oh, you like my Kirk now? Just wait until you see this episode where I play a space captain on a 1960s space show." I was like, "Really?" He's like, "Yeah, it's really good."
Oh, that's
he
a
was
fun
really
story.
excited about it.
That's a cool,
Yeah.
That's a cool move.
So. Yeah, it was fun to meet him. He was really nice. His dog only drank bottled water, though. It was kind of weird.
Oh.
He's an actor, so
Yeah, because my issue is beyond the idea of this really stretches credulity too much for all these people to know each other already and to have all of this, is that the Strange New Worlds cast is interesting enough on their own, and with only 10 episodes a season, we're not really able to explore them so well because we keep shoving, Kirk in their face, or now we got Scotty as a prominent character, and we got all this. It's like, can we just focus on the characters of this show that we're in? I love Ortegas. I want more with Ortegas. I love Lon. Let's give more to Lon. The Pike, number one. Like, let's explore all of these. There's plenty more to do with those characters without throwing the original series up. And it's just like they feel like, oh yeah, some Trekkies, they're gonna get turned on by this. We're gonna reference some other thing from the original series.
Member berries,
right? It's just like,
right?
Stop it! You're actually pissing me off by doing this. I've loved Star Trek. I don't remember a time when I hadn't seen Star Trek. That's how far back Star Trek goes for me. There was no original watching for me because I must have been 3 or younger. So
Star Trek is one of my very first memories.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Like, I don't remember that. This in Star Wars, I don't remember the first time I saw the original Star Wars film either, because just as far back as I can remember, it was part of my life. But, so yeah, it's like, I want you to explore these characters, and I want the show to be about exploration, which is what they touted when the show was out there. And it's what we're not really. Yeah. Is it more episodic than other new Trek? Yeah, it is. And this one did have like a sort of light arc, or light character arc, and a light sort of story arc, but it wasn't really that overt. And so it is more episodic, but I'm like, but the part you're missing is the exploration part. They're supposed to be out in space going to places that they've never been before and sort of charting the unknown. And that's something that I really want out of this show, and I'm not getting.
And that's the thing that boggles my mind, right? Because they've, in all the interviews and everything, they've just been touting this technology they have, this screen that's better than a green screen, where they can do all these alien worlds and everything. But 99% of the show takes place on the Enterprise,
or on a starbase or some other thing that's like a manufactured location. Yeah.
And half of these episodes they could have done, like one, it escapes my mind right now. Or no, the holodeck episode. Why wasn't that done on a planet where there was a scientist who was testing the holodeck technology? Why did it have to be on? Just a little stupid thing like that, where they could have done a B plot on the planet. I don't know. I agree with you. It's season 2. I got in an internet argument and I had to go back and count. There was in fact a strange world in every episode, barely, but there was. But yeah, season 3, I just gave up. It's basically strange new Enterprise corridors.
Well, I mean, it depends on how you count, because in Strange New Worlds, every world that they went to was one they had been to before. So it wasn't new. It might have been a world, but it wasn't a new world. It was a place they had been to before, or someone from the Federation had been to before.
It was a new visit to that world.
Yeah. It was new to me.
So to me, though, I'm talking about the exploration rather than just having things on a planet. I want there to be an aspect of exploration, and that's what I feel like is most, which is why I did like the one where they're on the planet exploring the temple, and because that actually felt like, so we're actually having to figure things out. We're exploring something new and working out, what's happening, so I did enjoy that aspect, quite a bit.
I mean, we've got the map now that Corby gave, so maybe they'll utilize that for some exploration, because I mean that was not really just a throwaway line or anything like that. So
yeah, I mean, it's interesting because they've said that they were really worried with this season that it was going to be their last season, which is why the last episode was the way it was and why they wrote out what is Pike's girlfriend's name?
Captain Batel.
Yeah, Batel. Was because, they want Pike to be unattached when he gets put in the chair, and so it was like they kind of like wrote her out just in case like this was the end of the show. But
I had a hunch there was something like that, because if I hadn't known that there was 2 more seasons for sure in the bag, that really did feel like it could have been a fairly solid series finale, actually.
Yeah, yes it did.
And I was sobbing during it. I had to pause and go get some tissues and
yeah, I mean, and that also I think is why they felt the need to shoehorn in so much with the original series cast as far as putting them up, because they wanted it to be like almost like a transition, and so again they wanted to have Kirk and Spock like have like a developing relationship and all that, and now it's kind of like, all right guys, put a pause on it. Because you got 2 more seasons coming up. So, so that's why I think that the original series cast was so front and center this season. But, like I said, I want them to utilize these 5 seasons without worrying about any of that crap, because it's like, I would have been fine with the idea of, other than Spock, who we always knew was on the ship with Pike, that the other people get transferred in later after Kirk takes over, and that would have been fine. Like, we didn't need to set them all up and say like, oh yeah, they were on the ship before Kirk was. So yeah, let's talk about some of the episodes that we've already kind of mentioned. So I have a list here to help me out here. So, and this is in reverse order. That's why it didn't make sense. Okay, so Space Adventure Hour. So I know that Stephanie said that it was her favorite, and Ryan, that was his.
Didn't say it was my favorite. I said it was absolutely charming.
And I thought you said it was your favorite this season.
No.
Okay. But yeah, Ryan, it was your least favorite. Here's my issue with it. I have 2 issues with it. One, I felt like it was made by someone who wanted to sort of like poke fun at original Trek, who had never actually seen original Trek. like the scenes that are supposed to be, haha, this is just like classic Star Trek, is more like old 30s adventure serials than it is like Star Trek ever
Mhm.
was. And even though like Wesley's delivery was very like Shatnery, like, and sort of like a Shatner parody, and that did make me
Mhm.
laugh, like none of the actual things that were supposed to be, isn't this just like Star Trek? Haha, were like the Star Trek, the original show wasn't anything like that. Like it was a better put together show than that, thing that they showed. So I didn't find it funny, but I also felt all the stuff in the holodeck was incredibly boring. It wasn't a good like mystery story. And the reveal at the end was kind of just like, eh? Really? Like I kept having a problem with the fact that like Spock didn't like dress up like, and especially if we find out at the end Spock is a holodeck character. Why wasn't he dressed in period appropriate clothing in there? Like, as that would have been
Mhm.
the thing that La'an should have insisted on. If Spock had actually entered, is now you've got to dress up and be part of this thing, and none of the characters even comment on it of like, hey, why are you dressed funny? This is weird, kind of thing. So I don't know, like that whole episode just seemed kind of
There
like
were
poorly put
multiple
together.
comments on him wearing, I didn't know this was a pajama party. And then there was another time where somebody commented, "What's with the way you dress?" And yeah, they poked out that he was in uniform a lot, actually.
It felt like a very poorly put together episode to
Oh,
me.
well,
It wasn't engaging to me on any level. And I know that it was like a way to get all the actors to play something different, but there was no fun to it to me. Like it wasn't a mystery, it wasn't funny, it wasn't, just kind of, I don't know. Like, okay, the holodeck's just messing with her. Okay, I mean that is an explanation, but it's not a satisfying one as a viewer to get to that point. There's just like I don't know. I mean, I know Ashley, you said that you enjoyed that one. Like, any comments about like what you liked about the episode?
Yeah, I did also find it charming. I feel like that is a good explanation for it. Like it kind of allowed them to have their cake and eat it too. Like they could kind of comment on some of this stuff, and I took it more as kind of like a parody of some like very over the top like 50s 60s sci-fi versus like you said, Nathan, the original Star Trek was much better done and acted and produced than
Well,
that.
even the thing
But
with the view screen, they didn't have people actually standing at a window or whatever. Like that's not the way they did it. Like so.
yeah,
Mhm.
yeah. So but I thought it was funny and entertaining, but didn't kind of push into parody as much as like Four and a Half Vulcans did. So overall, I thought it was a fun episode. And then Stephanie, I think you mentioned this. I think it was good that they were like, you know what, we're not quite ready for the holodeck yet. Like this technology is a little bit ahead of the game. So this was just kind of like allowed them to have a one-off kind of nod to the future technology. But and I believe it was also directed by Jonathan Frakes, which is kind of fun. So
Mm.
oh, yeah, that's right. That had me cracking up too, that they had him trying to do the Riker maneuver
yes,
and knocks
yes.
over the whole chair, or well,
Yeah.
knocks apart the chair. And, oh, I didn't realize that Frakes actually directed that one. That makes it
Yeah.
even funnier
I feel
now.
like seeing that like in the credits, that kind of add a little something extra to me, just like a little bit fun aside, like knowing that he was behind the camera this time. So
So Nate, where do you come down on the space adventure hour?
I don't know. I don't know what they were trying to parody. I think I agree. Like I was like, this is someone making fun of the idea of the original series that they heard about through description
Mm.
or maybe read the Wikipedia like summary.
And to be fair to what you're
Like
saying, several of the writers of Strange New Worlds have said we've never watched the original series. We just read up
and
on like what it is. So like, yeah,
yeah, don't yeah. So it is, and I can tell it shows. You didn't grow up watching TOS, and it shows. And I did. Besides the attitude of the the point of view that the writers had about the show, that almost like how much they despise original series. It felt insulting.
that
I
is the
felt
same feeling
insulted.
I got from it. I felt like they were insulting the original series. Yeah.
Yeah, and I was like, I don't appreciate that. It's really good, but um, other than that, I like the directing was fine. The sets were cool. The concept of how they were originally framing the holodeck to be, for the new 5-year mission ships, we're going to have to provide entertainment beyond 4D chess and stuff, like in a bar. Like we have to do something else because these people are going to be stuck in this tin can for 5 years. I liked that. I liked that they were thinking about it, and the overall conceit of the murder mystery was cool. Like it did make sense to me and stuff. So I did get it. Like I just didn't like the actual episodes of the TV show.
The fact that Spock as an outside character was the murderer was the thing that I just kind of like. I wanted it to be an actual murder mystery that was something that's
Moriarty all the way. That's Moriarty all the way.
Well,
it's the same thing.
No, it's not, because
Moriarty was
the idea of a holodeck character that can that can interact with you, like
can transcend,
transcend
the meta
but that Moriarty episode wasn't supposed to be a murder mystery story. A murder mystery should be something that you as the viewer, through the clues that are given, can deduce what's actually happening. And that was just sort of like, we'll just have a left field sort of thing, just throw out there. Okay.
But that wasn't the prompt that Lon gave. It was a story to stump her.
Yeah.
Which was the same premise of Moriarty being someone to outwit Data.
Right. No, I get what you're saying. It just was not a satisfying mystery is what I'm trying to say, which is what I wanted out of that. I was like, this is cool. Like, have all the cast members dress up. You're playing Clue, basically. Like, you know.
You're doing Clue. And you go through and you go like, this is how this person did it. This is why they did it. This is the motivation. This is when they had the opportunity, and they're dead.
Because so much of that episode feels like wasted time because the people are giving these motivations and everything. In the end, none of that had anything to do with anything. And yeah, mysteries, you do have red herrings, but the whole episode was a red herring. So it was just like, it's not fun.
That's how every detective story goes, is the detective comes up with a premise, then the person that they're investigating dies or gets ruled out, and then they start over from square one and go through the whole thing and go, okay, well, maybe this person, and then that's wrong, and then they go through the whole thing again, and then
I feel like that's kind of a cynical thing. Generally, the information you learn in mysteries, there might be some extraneous information, but usually the information all eventually, in hindsight, pays off that this is how it all happened, how it all connects, why these people were involved, even if they weren't the killer, this is why this person was involved with this and all that. It's generally part of the whole thing.
The holodeck was the killer the whole time.
Yeah.
No? Okay.
Yeah. All right.
That was fine.
Okay. How do people feel about La'an and Spock? Because Ashley was saying she's kind of on the fence. Brian's very much against it. And I'm just curious how people feel about La'an and Spock. So, Stephanie, you gave kind of like a shaky hand.
I mean, I did definitely like it better when it was just set up as being dance instructors, and I feel like even if they wanted to use their closeness as the way to get her out of the pseudo Romulan Vulcan mindset, they could have still done that with them just having a platonic friendship. It just, I don't know. I like both of the characters. I think I would be more open to it if it weren't for the fact that it was coming right off of his relationship with Chapel. And good golly, if we count the Kelvin verse, he's made it through all of the women on the Enterprise almost.
True. Yeah.
Season 5, he hooks up
all
with
the named
Ortegas.
characters.
Yeah.
Roman Rand is next,
Yeah, seriously. But I mean, how many times have we joked about the fact that Star Trek is not very good with a romance, and that apparently doesn't matter who is running the show or anything like that. But yeah, I mean, I think it could have potential. We know it doesn't, though, which also kind of puts a damper on it. Yeah, I think it would have been better to keep them as platonic, but it didn't really. It was something that kept tickling the back of my head, really, why is Spock being a little slut here.
I don't know why they
okay.
feel that Spock has to be in a relationship in this show. Like,
Right?
so if it's not Chapel, then it's got to be someone else. And I'm just like, it doesn't feel
I
organic.
mean,
Why couldn't we have just had him be like, okay, the Chapel thing was an experiment. I guess I'll go back to what's her face with Vulcan.
To Paul.
Because
Yes, she was great. To Paul, loved her.
You mean T'Pring?
T'Pring.
that's it.
T'Pol is
you're right.
Enterprise.
Oh yeah, sorry.
Yeah.
Enterprise. He had relationships.
Yeah, I did really like T'Pring when she was on there, and
My thing is,
Yeah.
like, I've always felt like up until Strange New Worlds, the lore of Vulcans, and it's maybe be headcanon, but Vulcans were largely asexual until their 7-year Ponfar. They go buck
Enterprise
wild.
says it right out. Like in Enterprise, T'Pol says they only mate once every 7 years. That is actually
Yeah,
a line in
and
Enterprise. I
that's-
noted it because we've debated this on the show before.
I know, and
So-
I just always felt like, and then otherwise they don't engage in romantic relationships because
Mhm.
the distraction it has involves emotions that they're always trying to avoid and suppress, and so but Spock is half human, so that's the thing that I don't know. I feel like honestly, I feel like the on relationship is only this season. Next season, they're going to break up it because they're going to mutually end it because they were both wounded. They needed healing, and they healed each other through their romantic relationship, and they're going to both move on now. Like,
Yeah.
that's what I feel like.
So yeah, I mean, I think kind of like you guys are kind of moving in the direction that I wanted to go with this because like when Chapel was first in Strange New World, in season 1, they announced season 1, they said Chapel, okay, there's no reason why Chapel couldn't have been on the ship with Pike too. And I liked the way they set up Chapel originally, which was she was just this woman that was really into Vulcan stuff, like Vulcan culture and stuff. And she and Spock bonded as friends. And I was like, oh, this is nice. So this could kind of explain why later on she has feelings for Spock, but I assumed this would end up being one-sided on her part, that she would have feelings for Spock and he wouldn't reciprocate, but like it started as a friendship because I really loved their relationship in season 1. Then season 2 they made it a full-blown relationship, and I was like, okay, really guys, because like nothing in their interactions in the original series make me think that Spock ever had a thing for her. But then it was like, okay, and then they break them up. All right, fine, whatever. And apparently she switches to Roger Corby like that. Like it was just also kind of like, what? Oh, okay. I mean, we can do that, but I mean, why are we doing this? And again, I think they're listening to the fans who didn't like it, and so they're like, oh yeah, she is supposed to get together with Corby. We know that from the original series, so like we'll just have that happen like over a month or whatever it was when she was like gone for like a month or two or whatever. So, okay. And then Lon, I thought the same thing that most of you did. This is a great friend. I'm glad that we're finally doing this, where this is going to have this great friendship with a character who is smarter and faster than most humans. And so she's kind of like a Vulcan herself. She feels kind of ostracized. And so, they can kind of bond as they're both sort of outcasts in various ways. And, that'll be great. And then again, they make it into a romantic thing. It's like people can have healthy relationships with people of the opposite gender without it being a romance, and I feel like their show doesn't understand that. It's just like, let them be friends, and that would feel a lot more organic also, instead of just having to force everyone into these relationship musical chairs, which I just am like, can we just get on to doing like exploration, which doesn't mean we have to forget character, but not everything has to be about relations, like romantic relationships. Like we can explore other kinds of relationships and just like the camaraderie of people traveling together, like the original show did a lot, so just
I don't know, with the mind meld though, now I'm really hoping that season 4 starts playing with Spurk.
yeah.
I mean, now we've got like they're besties now, and then some.
Yeah.
I'm ready for Spurk. I want it canon.
And then, well, also, I feel like it's strange because La'an had a little thing with Kirk, or at least alternate universe Kirk in the previous series, and now Spock. So it feels just like a little too much. And I definitely agree. There is not enough representation of like male-female close friendships in like fiction overall, and I would really really like to see more of that. And just, I mean, like depth of friendship, power of friendship. I think it would be great to see more storytelling surrounding that. But one of my geek confessions is that I am a serial shipper. Like, I love shipping, but if a ship is even too much for me, that's saying something. So the fact that I'm not fully on board with Lon and Spock is saying something.
Yeah, I realize that for some people this is total heresy, but I don't particularly find Patton Oswalt funny. I never do in anything that he's done. I found his character in this season to just be not only not funny, but also the whole thing that like Una can't like even control herself around. I think it was supposed to be funny, but I just was like, this is like gross and like not even like I feel better about like I thought higher of Una than that, and I feel like again just for like them having like, oh, let's like do some sort of like funny romantic pairing, ha ha ha, when it's just like couldn't you have made this any other like I know this guy and like he's this expert Vulcan at like, you know, treating things or whatever, and we just like again making it like this weird romantic thing was something that I didn't really need there.
And they still could have kept his obsession with humans, and that he was like, it wasn't a romantic thing, but he was still obsessed with her for that exact same reason that Spock originally made the deal with him with. Like, he just wanted a way to have the inside scoop or whatever.
I don't know. I thought it was kind of overplayed because, like, you know, yeah, oh, you know, Patton Oswalt, he's this ugly little toad, and this tall, beautiful woman is obsessed with him. Isn't that funny? Except that, like, Patton Oswalt was married to a beautiful woman, and he's a funny guy. He's a genuinely nice person, even if you don't find him funny. He's a good guy, and like, you know, and it's like, yeah, there's, I don't know. I agree. I thought it was like they were trying to do this juxtaposition thing, and it was
more the fact that she couldn't control herself around him.
It was
that
this
I found,
uncontrollable,
like,
primal thing,
right?
And
my problem,
it would have been fine if she had a thing for him and be like, yeah, we actually had a relationship for a while, whatever. Like, but yeah, anyway. Right.
I'm not gonna kink shame anyone, and if it's like, you know, little Vulcans that gets Una going, more power to her. and honestly, you know, if there are women out there like that, you know, hey, hello, we're here. You know, nerds are out here. You know, Patton Oswalt's not the only Patton Oswalt out there. You know, but my problem with it is that I'm off the top of my head, I think this was Una's biggest storyline this entire season, and that's just incredibly
focus on the characters you have.
Yeah, I mean, we went from her having this, you know, great storyline about obviously being enhanced, you know, her defense, a courtroom drama, to this. And that's kind of just the whole.
That was my favorite episode of last season, by the way, was the courtroom episode.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, and so how do we all fall on 4.5 Vulcans? I almost said 2.5 Vulcans because I was thinking 2.5 men.
2.5 men, yeah. Like, 2.5 Vulcans would be funnier.
Yeah.
There were things that I liked about it, and there were things that I didn't. I was kind of just rolling my eyes at the whole
resolution.
Una's relationship. The resolution did seem to like come out of nowhere pretty quickly. And like I could understand the four of them gaining intellect, gaining heightened senses, all that type of stuff. But the fact that they just immediately defaulted to super logical when it has been so thoroughly established, even in Strange New Worlds, that the logic is not biological, it is a practice that they dedicate themselves to.
Yeah.
That was what kept pulling me out of the episode.
Like, they did have a throwaway line at one point that tried to explain that, but yeah.
I was about to say, they could have established it a little bit more, that there was like some sort of psychicness that came from the fact that this was based off of the original vaccine for Spock. And sure, I would have bought it if they did a little bit more woohoo with the Vulcan psychicness. But the fact that they played it off like just, oh, we're Vulcan DNA now, so we are perfectly logical. that kept pulling me out of it. Lan was about the only one who I think it really kind of worked with, because she didn't necessarily go logic so much as she did kind of embrace the overly yeah. And it was like her and Pike both said in unison, Romulans. So I think it worked better for her, but then she had to have the whole romantic Spock pulling her out, which they could have still even done it with dancing, and it didn't have to be a relationship thing. Yeah. I'm going to talk in a circle here, so somebody else hop on in.
It's like this entire season, every episode, they submitted the rough draft, the first draft, and they're like, yeah, that's good. Let's go with it.
So I just want to jump in here really quick. It is important to note, I think, that while this season was being made, they had both the writer's strike and the actor's strike going on, and I do feel like that's part of the reason for exactly what you said, Ryan.
Yeah. Well, that's to an extent, yeah, but it's like this episode ended with exposition. Like, how's it resolved? Through exposition. We didn't show it. It's just, yeah, we did it. We solved it.
You brought out the point I was going to bring out.
Yeah,
we're told, not shown. So
much wasted. Yeah. And I mean, also to go back. I'm sorry, but to go back to the holodeck episode for just a second, because that just occurs to me. Again, it's a first draft. Like, why isn't there a freaking committee at Starfleet that dedicates itself to deciding if society is ready for a new technology? That's what La'an was doing, and it seems to me like that's at this point in time in the future, they're going to have like a whole department, a whole. They're not going to give it to some lieutenant on a starship. Hey, decide if all of Starfleet, if all of the Federation can use this technology.
I took that more of a practical demonstration as to whether or not the ship could handle it functioning at high capacity while also still doing their general
It was a field
stuff.
test.
Yeah, that's how I took that. Not as a determination for people to use it so much as, can we install this on starships and not blow everything up?
That may be, but I'm not going to go back and watch it a third time to find out.
Yeah, you brought up the point I wanted to about 4.5 Vulcans, Ryan. It just feels like it was so, like, the pacing wasn't right in the episode, and I loved there was a nugget there. The idea of they became so obsessed with how they had been improved that they lost their humanity, and there was a nugget of a great idea there, but the fix wasn't, other than you can argue with Lon and Spock bringing her out, the fix for the other three wasn't in some way like appealing to some core like aspect of their nature and seeing how they had been, how they had lost something. It was, we know a guy, we'll call him in and we'll fix him, and like, to me, that like sort of like, it didn't work, right? It didn't get to like some sort of emotional heart, that I would have liked to have gotten to. And yeah, it was just kind of like, oh wow, we're taking so long with this. Let's write a Deus Ex Machina. All right, we're done. And it was, that was my problem with it.
That happened a lot.
Yeah,
a lot throughout the season. Just lots, just random Deus Ex.
I wanted to talk about. Ashley, did you have anything you wanted to add about 4.5 Vulcans?
No, I think you guys did a good job covering it. Yeah, I think there were some funny moments, but I think overall, as an episode within the broader storytelling, it doesn't really work. So, which is unfortunate because there are some good laughs, but yeah, I think there's too much that kind of took me out of it, and it felt more like a parody than an actual story that's part of the narrative arc of this season.
I wanted to talk a bit about Through the Lens of Time and New Life and New Civilizations, which is kind of like our plot arc, is those two, episodes kind of, about this temple and about like these evil beings that are kind of like banished beyond time, or, however you want to say it. I really enjoyed Through the Lens of Time. I thought it was one of the stronger episodes this season. I really liked, like I said before, the whole exploration aspect. I liked that there was like sort of like a riddle that they had to solve and all that kind of stuff. I really love that kind of like, storytelling. And and what was happening to our, nurse character, like I forget his name again, but like with the
Gamble.
eye, yeah, Gamble. That was like truly unsettling and scary,
Yes, it
and
was.
I was wondering how that was all going to get solved, and I know, of course, it doesn't fully get solved, and you sort of see like the computer like get sort of glitchy or whatever after he's taken care of and everything. I feel like, though, how they tried to graft it on to what was happening with Battelle, that's her name, right?
Mhm.
I felt like that was clunky. It felt like, yeah, they wanted to write her out, and so they did plan that last episode, which did have some very, like you guys were talking about, had some very emotional beats and was like very well written from that standpoint. I felt like this whole idea of, well, she's got some Gorn DNA now, so they have some sort of like hatred for these beings, and that just makes her like rage at, like, I feel like that whole thing was never properly explained. Like, the Gorn are clearly not anywhere near the level of these beings, so would they really have something that causes them to attack them, which would have been suicide? You get what I'm saying? Like, how did that even start? Why does she have it? Like, all of that stuff just kind of felt
I
like
took
clunk.
it as they were kind of playing it up as the Gorn DNA, the Illyrian DNA, human DNA, and then the Chimera blossom and all that type of stuff just happened to give her the right mix of genetic memory of how to get rid of them, and it was a little clunky, but I took it as more than just the Gorn. However, in the first episode that happens, what do you say it was, a look through time or something?
Through the lens of time, I
Through the
think.
lens of time.
Yeah.
I'm terrible with episode
Yeah, through the
names.
lens of time. Yeah.
And the lens of time was when we first found them. Yeah, that's
Yeah, that first time that she encounters, or that she like beasts out or whatever, it did come across as it was just because of the Gorn, and it was in the finale where they definitely tried like saying it was more than just the Gorn DNA. There were other components to it that just happened to make the right cocktail to make her the perfect warden there. So
yeah, I understand why they want it to be something where like Pike doesn't, because it's kind of awkward if Pike gets put in the chair and he has this like relation, because then it's like it makes her seem awful that she's not around in the original series when Pike shows up and he's in the chair. It's like, wait, did she just leave him because he's put in a wheelchair? Like, what a horrible person she is. So I get why they wanted to get rid of her before that, but I don't know. I feel like this whole thing it didn't work for me, just as far as trying to put those two things together, like, just kind of felt kind of awkward to me.
Which is really crazy because because there was a better way to. I agree with you. It just felt like, oh, what absolute luck that she just happens to have the combination of these three DNAs, know.
Right.
But there was they could have used her as a sort of like a hybrid human Gorn, and she created the piece or something. Maybe it's a little bit too reminiscent of Odo going back to the pool, to the founders.
But they don't
whatever.
worry about being too reminiscent of things in their older tracks. They do it all the time.
But yeah, she could have sacrificed herself for peace with the Gorn. That would have been a good sacrifice. This was, I don't know. This was just luck.
Yeah. Now, does anyone else have anything to say about that?
It just was unearned, and it's because they only had 10 episodes. It was the old-fashioned 26 episode season, and we had, it would have been 26 hours. We could have dribbled this information out and said we get 2 episodes about how just someone ended up with the right genes to be the intergalactic, prison warden.
Yeah.
It just felt empty and flat.
Yeah, I really feel like they're not planning these seasons for optimal like usage of the season. And that's what's unfortunate, because that was the thing we were told all these years was if we just have shorter seasons, the seasons are going to be great. No filler. It's just going to be like, however long it is, 6, 8, 10 episodes of just pure story that's just going to, and it feels like we're getting a 26 episode season. We're getting like 10 episodes out of a 26 episode season rather than where there is a lot of filler and there's a lot of stuff that doesn't really matter, and stuff, but it's still, and it's not that tight thing that we were told we were going to get with a shorter season. And so that's kind of my,
I don't see it being that. I see it being they're reacting too much to criticisms and praise.
They're watching YouTube too much.
Yeah, kind of. Yeah, I mean, because they're like, oh my gosh, no one liked the musical. Let's never ever do that again. But they really loved the fantasy episode, so let's do that again. Oh, and they love Moriarty.
I have never heard anyone say anything negative about the musical episode. Like that has been universally praised.
Really?
Everywhere.
I know one person who despises it. But
even
else
I who don't
it.
like musicals said at least it was a well done production, but everyone else has just universally loved it everywhere.
Unless they're just haters. If they just hate the whole show, they hate they watch Star Trek New Worlds just to complain about it, and they complain about every episode. But anybody who says, yeah, I kind of like it, anybody who says they kind of like it, love the musical episode.
That's funny. I mean, don't get me wrong, I loved it, but I think that this is just a bubble experience for the people we surround ourselves with. Because if you dive into like the Strange New Worlds fan pages here on Facebook or somewhere else, the vitriol for that episode is off the charts. Now, to be fair, those are the same people who complain Discovery's too woke or something along those lines. But
I definitely have heard that before. That is a thing that I hear a lot.
Yeah,
I know the Facebook groups I'm in for Star Trek will love it. But then again, I tend to be in the ones that are more posty, including Star Trek posting.
Yeah.
That's a good one.
But yeah, I've even listened to people who do podcast episodes and stuff, and everyone was universally praising that musical episode. So yeah, I've never heard anyone say anything negative about it. Other than me, I just don't like musicals in general. But I felt like even for that, it was kind of like it was fine. My issue was more of when you only have 10 episodes.
Right.
How many episodes can you have that break the format of the show? And it was kind of one of the examples I gave of there's too many episodes that break the format of the show. Let's go back to exploration in Strange New Worlds.
Right.
So yeah.
Yeah, I just think they're reacting too much.
But I agree. I think they are reacting. I think that's why the Spock Chapel relationship got shut down. The problem is then they did Spock Lawn right on the heels of it. And I'm like, no. You're gonna do this, and just let him be him, and let's explore Spock without him having to have like a romantic. Like, why does everything have to be about a romantic relationship? And I don't mind. Like, I was fine with Pike and Batel.
People have always thirsted after Spock, so they feel like they need to give him somebody. Like, even going back to TOS, people have historically been very interested in his character.
I mean, my mom said that like Spock was like the interesting character that she like when she was a teenager in the original series was on. So no, I get it. I mean, I understand that that's sort of been like a thing. But yeah, I mean, but I think the problem is Spock as being like the aloof, unapproachable guy was part of that appeal, and with them making it like Spock's got to be in her, like they're kind of taking away from the thing that made him appealing in the first place by constantly throwing him into all these relationships.
I'm just theorizing as to why they keep doing it.
But you're right; they might not have thought that through. Right? No,
but you're right. I mean, in TOS, Spock was the unattainable, and Chapel was the unrequited love for him. But they've kind of just thrown all that aside now.
Yeah. None of us have mentioned, so there was one episode that I don't think we've even touched on or even barely commented on, which
the Scavengers one?
Yeah, the Sailot who ate its tail.
Yeah, that was a good one in my opinion.
Yeah, I liked it. I did feel like, again, we were doing a little too much Kirk in it. That was my big, criticism with it. But I liked the idea of the scavengers and all of that kind of stuff. Where again, it was something new that the show was doing. The planet they originally started on was new, and the scavengers were new. And I was like, "Thank you for giving us something new."
Even the twist about the scavengers was, I enjoyed that. That felt like vaguely original. Probably the most original thing they did all season.
So yeah, that was one that I liked. And the other one that we haven't, I think, even commented on at all is What is Starfleet, which was sort of the documentary
That one gave me
episode.
Babylon 5 vibes.
Yep, Stephanie, same with me, but I felt like the Babylon 5 one was done better.
Yeah.
Like, this felt a little too amateurish for it to be like the official Starfleet like documentary, and that's why I kind of was just like, like I liked the idea of what they were doing and the idea that there would be reporters who would be very interested in how does this ship operate and who are the crew and the different things. But I just felt like kind of like an amateurish thing that was again like the people writing it had never actually seen a documentary. They just knew what they were kind of like and were just like
I read the Wikipedia page on it.
Well, yeah, it's like journalism.
Yeah, it was like a student film. It was. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, they were trying to go with it being Ortega's little brother doing it. So that's what I took from the whole.
But if Starfleet's saying that he can do this, I have to believe that he's a professional that actually does, like, because otherwise it would be like, why would they let some kid do this as part of this film project to like really look deep into
in high school or something? Yeah,
right, exactly. Like, so I'm guessing Ortega, like, I don't know their ages. I don't think they say them, but I'm guessing her brother's old enough that he's actually had like a bit of a career making films, and so has something that they looked at and they were like, yeah, like this style is good. This is what we want. But I didn't buy it. Like it wasn't all that great. And again, we had to do it in a relationship with Uhura, with her brother, where it was like locks everything down to this romantic relation. Although that was less egregious, I felt, than some of the other ones. Like I didn't mind them together. I just felt like with everyone else, it was just like, why does everybody got to pair up on this show?
But as soon as that episode started, I definitely had Babylon 5 vibes.
I did like the idea of taking a story and telling it through different lens than the show lens. I liked that. That was refreshing, and I thought it broke the mold without stepping too far away from the overall themes of it was a strange new world, a new culture, a new civilization. So but it was just told a different way, which I thought was interesting, which is I think ranks it higher than some of the other ones where it's just like I read that this year season 4 is going to have a puppet episodes. So
they've already shown some footage from it. There's been like a teaser.
Yeah, that's great. That's great. That's what we need.
If it's just the only one that's like a weird offbeat silly one, like at least but I have a bad feeling it's going to be again a bunch of them, not just that one. But yeah, I don't need the puppet episode. Like
not bad.
Angel did that very well, but Angel was a show about magic and everything, and like and they made it great because they juxtaposed it with making it a puppet thing, and then at the same time made it like this most action packed, like ridiculously overly like actiony episode where you've got like puppets like spilling like the peanuts out of them and everything, like they're getting blown away by shotguns and crap, and that was great because it like made it funnier.
Well, and it pushed the limits of the puppets.
That it was like they made it so horrendously violent with puppets.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, now The Boys has like ruined puppets for me.
Yeah.
Have any of you watched The Boys?
Yeah, I don't watch The Boys, but
I have not.
Yeah.
Okay, well, it seems Ryan and Nate know what I'm talking about.
We'll take your word for it.
Yeah, I don't need to know. I've heard enough about The Boys that I don't think I have any interest. But the thing, Stephanie, about Babylon 5 though is I don't know if they had someone directing that episode that like new news magazine shows, but basically that felt like an actual news magazine show that just happened to be set in the 23rd century, or 22nd century.
Whereas this one definitely came across like an amateur one, and so it was a little weird that they had managed to get Starfleet to release confidential information.
Yeah. So yeah, I want. And I mean, I guess we can start talking about, what we want to see out of the show as we wrap up these last 2 seasons. But I really want them to focus on 2 things. I want them to focus on their existing characters. They're interesting. It feels like they just have this huge envy of the original series and they just want to shoehorn that in. And they've even mentioned, oh, we would love to, like, once Strange New Worlds is done, we'd love to do a Star Trek Year One with the original series crew. And I'm just kind of like, I don't really care. Like, we have an original series. Like, we don't need, like, whatever the next Trek is. I want it to be something like completely different, so I don't feel like they need to shoehorn in all these characters. Just use the ones that were already established for this show. If you want to add somebody, that's fine. But make it like a new character that we've never seen before. Don't, and focus on Una. Like somebody said, like Una and Patton Oswalt was the biggest role for her in this whole season, which is awful. Like give Una some stuff to do. Give Pike some stuff to do. I feel like I know that some Trek people have had real problems with Pike knowing his fate. I felt like what they did with that in season one was actually really powerful. The idea of knowing your fate, the idea of him trying to find a way around it, figuring out there is no way around it because the consequences of going around it would be bad, and sort of being like, you know what, I'm just going to make the most of the time that I have. I thought that was really, really good. I was like, okay.
That was the best part of season 2.
Right. I was like, I like that. That worked pretty well. So Pike, like, give us stuff with Pike. Give us interesting things with Pike and how he's dealing with, losing his fiance. Like what is this going to do with Pike? And knowing that he's got this fate coming in, like do some things there. And if you're going to do stuff with Spock, there's tons of unexplored trauma between Spock and his father that we can delve into here. The original series gave us a sliver. Like you could do that without contradicting anything, and explore a little more of that relation. We already have James Frain who played Sarek in Discovery. You could bring him back.
That's literally the one piece of canon they're sticking to, because in Babel, Spock says he hasn't seen his father in so many years or whatever.
Oh, does he say that? Okay.
Yeah.
I didn't remember that reference. But yeah,
One little tidbit here, though, from the What is Starfleet. Did anybody else find some mild amusement in Spock mind melding with the sea whale that took to space?
Yes. Yes.
Nathan, I was surprised you didn't make any comment on that, but I was like, yes, play John the whale!
The sad part of there is he won't remember that he's done it before.
Right.
Yep.
Yeah.
But I found it very amusing.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, Ortega's got something this season. And I mean, we've all agreed, I think that was like the strongest episode this season.
I really enjoyed Terrarium.
It was really the Ortega's season.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and Ortega's
she
got
had
a nice little character arc throughout this whole season.
Yeah. I want to know, how is she getting the motorcycle on the turbo lift? Like, I don't think there's enough room. That's a big heavy bike.
Yeah, and for how they've expanded the Enterprise in Strange New Worlds, like all the quarters are way bigger than they originally were. Now there's a bar on the ship and everything else. It's like, you'd feel like you could make the turbo lifts bigger, or maybe they have a cargo turbo lift that
they have
we
a
never
freight,
see.
freight turbo lift.
Teleporting it.
But yeah, I mean, and especially with and I guess they did do a lot with Mbenga in the first 2 seasons, but again, like we have so many interesting characters to explore in this show, and there's more to do with Mbenga too. Like, give us these guys, and don't worry about the fact that Trek is gonna, like the original series is gonna happen. It's gonna happen. Don't worry about it.
Yeah. And ships get new crew all the time.
Yeah.
Like, they'll reset the whole ship.
Carol Kane playing hippie immortal, and you're not using that.
I mean, I feel like she was kind of front and center in a lot of episodes this season, even though there's not like a lot of character. But with a character like that, you can't really explore them too much because, it's kind of like you ruin the joke the more you like explore them. She's a character I could actually do less of. Like, I don't actually like her at all. I loved the original engineer they had, but of course he died. Hemmer, was that his name? I think.
Oh, yeah. Yes.
He was fantastic. And I love the Andorians, so pulling in anything from their lore made me very happy. But I did find it hilarious that we got the tidbit that her quarters are like protected, so nobody knows what's going on in there. That made me chuckle a little bit when
And
they revealed that.
throwback to a previous point in our conversation, if there's a character that can use modern vernacular and it's not strange, here it is.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, fair. I'm not going to go and retread season 2. I'm not going to retread season 2. Like the whole idea that she comes from a whole race of immortals and everything else, and they just say it matter of factly, like everybody knows this and everything else. And it's like,
and they were hiding on Earth, and there can be only one. I don't know why.
Yeah. Yeah, and it would have been perfect if they tied it in with original series and the guy who was like Leonardo da Vinci and Brahms, and he was all those people because he was an immortal that had lived through Earth, but they didn't do that. But yeah, the other thing that I want from this show is exploration. Like, all right, we're talking about 5-year missions and everything. Why isn't the Enterprise going out there with Pike and Co. exploring? Like, that's what I want. Like, I want them.
It felt like they were just sort of cruising around the Starfleet territory.
Right. Right. When they originally announced this series, they said it was going to go back to being episodic and about exploration. And how episodic it is, has varied slightly, but I think it's fine how they've done it. It hasn't been tight arcs, certainly. But I want to go to explore because, instead we're just flying around within the Federation. There really isn't a lot of exploration going on in most of these episodes. So I wanted to go out there where it's like, we can't just call up people and have them show up. Like we're out in the boonies and we just got to use our wits to solve whatever problem that we're having. That's what I want from these last 2 seasons.
And Corby gave them that map that he can't go explore because he's staying on whatever that planet was called. I can't remember the name.
Yeah, no, I know what you're talking about, though. But yeah, I was hoping that is saying that, yes, next season we are actually going to go out and do this. So that's what I am hoping for.
And the only ship that'll ever be in range again is the one that Kirk is currently on. So,
Yep.
Right around the corner. Yeah, the Farragut.
The Farragut.
Yeah, Farragut. Yeah.
And he's the only crew member on that entire ship.
Yeah.
At least the only one they can spare.
All right, so I got two more questions. So question number 1, is there anything about season 3 that we haven't talked about that you feel like that we need to talk about?
I absolutely loved that they brought Terrain's dad in as John Delancey. I was so amused by that. I can see you clearly were not, but I thought it was hilarious.
I was unhappy that they had Trelane in the first place. Let's put it that way. The fact that it was John Delane, I mean, yes, I know there was a novel that explored the idea that Q was Trelane's father, and then I know all that. It's kind of like, that's kind of like old hat to me. So that why it didn't amuse me a lot. But yeah, I hated that Trelane was there at all. Like I didn't think that episode was very funny either.
I thought it was endearing. That was one that I thought was so much fun. Where's your whimsy?
That one, I'm a Stephanie on that one.
Okay. The whole thing of nobody else knows and we're changing the relationships there, like none of that was like joyful to me. That was just like I just felt like I had to deal with that episode.
It was him being a troublemaker and not exactly like...
Right, when he didn't know anything about humans, like in the original series episode with him, and he had observed them from far away but had never interacted with them. And like that was the whole point of that episode. And then it's like, oh no, like Trelane's like hanging out with humans and
Technically they never said his name, did they?
I don't think they did.
Well, you're also thinking about...
Yeah, they only called him the wedding planner. So...
Yeah, he just replaced himself into the reality as the Andorian wedding planner. But why wasn't... I still didn't get... They gave us the reflection of Reese as the Andorian, but why wasn't he... Why is us, the audience, didn't see him...
Because I'm
dressed
sure
up as the different
characters. The actor didn't want to put on makeup.
Because he didn't have time because he didn't want to come in. And
maybe he reacts badly. I don't know. Some actors react badly to the makeup, like and their skin breaks
they can't
out and stuff.
They break out or they get claustrophobic or whatever. Okay, fine, but like I'm sitting here wondering, why am I not seeing Rhys Darby with antenna on his head the whole time? And they're just like, and here's a little, like, oh, look, here's a mirror, a handy mirror that
the
happens to
thing
be in
is
frame.
that the very first time he was talking to Spock, he wasn't even dressed up as an Andorian. He was dressed up, well, I shouldn't say dressed up. He wasn't presenting as an Andorian. He was presenting as a Vulcan.
Mm-hmm.
Like Spock even says, I didn't know we had Vulcan bartenders or something like that.
Yeah, like, I don't know. It was,
and I think that was part of it, so that they could do this little, he's shifty and changing how he presents without having to actually put the actor through all that makeup. I don't know.
Well, I also think that actor is very physically funny, and you lose probably a lot of that comedy once you start putting layer upon layer.
blue makeup and antennas and Vulcanish. I don't know.
Hey, and the ridges.
Yeah, again,
don't
I
forget
was
the
like,
ridges.
yeah, again, it was like, oh, Terrellion's here. Okay. Oh, he's a Q. Okay.
No.
And I was just underwhelmed.
First off, I think we can't think about it too linearly, right? Like, he exists out of time, so it's entirely possible that this happened after the TOS episode, or simultaneously. Even we're dealing with omnipotent beings, so I have no problem with that concept of it. But for me, I kind of liked it just because I hate the idea of another omnipotent godlike being every week, and so when we consolidate them, that works better for me. Because I'm sorry, there can't be 100 different Q-type species out there.
Yeah,
I mean there can, but it's just.
Well, I mean, that was kind of why I was like, if we're already doing a Trelane episode, do we really have to have the Metrons in another episode? Like, it was one of those things where I was like, yeah, I don't. But anyway, yes, I mean, I've already read Q Squared, so the idea that Trelane is Q's son is old to me, so that's not.
Yeah, I never read any of the books, so and plus they're not canon anyways.
Well,
so
no, I know,
being...
but I don't know. I just felt like that episode wasn't
I just
worth
like
the price
John
of admission.
Delancey, okay?
Oh, I do like John Delancey.
He's wonderful.
I find him funny. I did not find Rhys Darby funny as Trelane. Like, that was not. Yeah. Anyway.
And I wasn't surprised when I heard his voice at the end.
Right.
You know, I was like, oh, yeah, makes sense.
Another voice thing, this may have just been me, but I actually had to go IMDb the computer voice, because did anybody else, like, initially the voice of the computer in this season really remind you of Kate Mulgrew?
It did not. Was it?
I
don't know what it was. I actually was like, wait a second, are they randomly having Janeway voice the computer? What? It wasn't her, obviously, but there was something about the cadence that just I don't know, it made me think it was her for some
doing
reason.
a transatlantic.
To be fair,
computer.
I've never paid attention to the kid. And I don't remember how old I was when I found out that Majel Barrett had done the computer voice throughout all of Trek, but I did not even realize it was the same person doing the voice in the original series, as in like Next Gen Voyager, that, was Majel Barrett the whole time. Like, I did not know that until I was, in my 20s probably. So, I mean, I never pay it that much attention. I knew that it was the same voice in Next Gen and Voyager, whoever it was, because the computer sounded the same, but I didn't realize it was Majel Barrett, and she had also done it in the original series. All right, Ryan, anything we haven't mentioned that you want to talk about?
I mean, we mentioned him, but I actually feel like they did Corby good in this season. I enjoyed the casting was good. I felt like he had chemistry with everyone he was on screen with. And it was a character I cared about, and now I'm sad to know his outcome,
Right.
which I think is well
if
done.
only I could replace myself with an android.
I mean, yeah, you can almost see that, like, sort of descent into immortality that's coming for him.
Christopher Pike lived.
Yeah. So yeah, I think I'll give them credit for Corby across the season.
Well, yeah, if we didn't have to do some stupid like love triangle thing with him and Spock, I would have felt a lot better. But yeah, everything's after that when they had him show up.
I love the chemistry between him and Spock. I was rooting for that bromance. I mean, I don't know.
Yeah.
Honestly, I think that was one of the reasons why I also liked the Trelane episode, was the way him and Spock were getting along and not getting along simultaneously. And I thought it was kind of brilliant how Spock punches him and then suddenly realizes, oh yeah, this is all fake. I'm sorry. How do we fix it? I punched you, but now I believe you, so let's work together. I thought the actors did that really well together.
I agree.
Ryan, did you say there were two things that you wanted to say?
Probably, but I don't remember the other thing.
Oh,
So
okay.
I reserve the right to come back.
Okay, that's fine. Yeah. All right, Nate.
I think this conversation with you all tonight has solidified what I think where season 3 fell down for me, and it wasn't the acting, and it wasn't the directing, it wasn't production. So I do feel like Reese should have been in makeup, but it was. I maybe multitude of reasons why, it's fine, whatever. But I would have liked to see him in playing the different aliens that he was.
No, I thought the same. Like, I
into.
wondered the same thing you did, Nate. And I just, to me, it was less important than some other things that I had issues with in that episode. But yeah,
it's the least of the problems I have with that episode. But
right.
It's still. But I think it's the writing. I think the writers' room just fell down this season, and maybe it's because of the strikes and everything. Whatever the reason is, I think it just fundamentally the writing was weaker this year, and hopefully season 4 they tighten up and they get a point of view or and a tone, and they decide and they just pick one and kind of stick with it.
Well, to me, it's like if they're going to be episodic, it's fine to have varying tones, but it's got to be more than just whiplash from grimdark to high comedy. It's like, let's try to find the spectrum, right? Like,
yeah, if you look at how the episodes are laid out, it's Hegemony Part 2, Alien movie, Aliens, right? Wedding Bell Blues, comedy, Shuttle to Kafori, zombie apocalypse, Space Adventure Hour, goofy time, Lens Through Time, eyeballs blow up, Shalada ate his tail. It's like there's like goofy, terrifying horror, cosmic horror.
Right.
It just go back and forth, back and forth, back and forth.
Right. I like
that's the right way to organize
did it too.
the show.
Like, as far as like a spectrum of tones, like, there were some more comedic episodes. Like, The Trouble with Tribbles is hilarious, right? Like, I feel like it's a little less silly than some of these have been, but it's still it's written to be funny. Like my daughter calls
22,
it Kirk's No Good, Very Bad Day, and it's like you see Kirk like losing his mind just a little bit and ratcheting up as the whole day just continues to get worse and worse as things go on. And it's very funny to watch. But they did do like more comedic storytelling, and then they had more serious, but it's like that's the thing. It was more of we go anywhere along a spectrum, not like one end, other end, one end, other end. It was kind of like we fall within like the spectrum somewhere. So I feel that that's fair in an episodic show. It doesn't have to be one tone, but just like play with the whole range, not just one end and the other.
But yeah, I look forward to season 4.
Yeah, Ashley, anything you wanted to say about season 3 that we haven't?
No, I think we kind of covered it. Like we said, there were some ups and downs. Overall, I still really enjoyed it. Like I said, I really love these characters, and I'm excited to see where they are going.
All right. And things that you want to see out of season 4. So let's just go in reverse order. Ashley, is there anything that you want to see out of season 4?
I wouldn't say I have a lot of specific requests. I just, again, want to see them really focus in on the characters, knowing that we have a limited amount of time with these characters, because obviously there's only 5 seasons of the series, and we don't know how their stories may end because some of them are not seen in the original series. So hoping they don't come to tragic ends, but they could. So I would really like to see the next season take some moments to slow down and have really in-depth character-to-character moments. Like, it was nice having Pike and Mbenga went off on a mission together. They have lots of one-on-one time. That would be great to maybe see other characters get to interact, like send Ortegas and Number One off on a mission together, and just get to have these characters play off of each other and to see some of those relationships grow and develop. Again, like, not necessarily the focus on like all these romantic relationships and pairing everybody up, but just focus on some of these crew to crew friendships and relationships. Maybe even some people who don't get along as well have to work together on a mission. So character focus is what I would really like to see, and also some cool new delve deep into the galaxies and uncover some mysteries, some strange and curious things. I think would be really cool.
Yeah, something that you said reminded me of something where it's like, I feel like a lot of people, both in fandom and possibly some of the people writing the show, don't understand how the Navy works. It's actually highly unlikely for the same crew to stay together forever, and so it's sort of idea of, well, we don't see them, that must mean they die. No, it doesn't mean that they die. They can get transferred to another ship, they get promotions, they go to a star base, there's all sorts of things that happen. And the idea of the original series was they're out in space for a lot of this time, so yeah, they're not transferring people on and off that often because but even then Chekhov comes on at some point, and he wasn't present in the beginning, so I mean, some people do leave, some people do come in, so like this sort of idea that like some people are like, well, like Ortegas and Lon, they're all gonna die, and it's just like they could, or they have to leave Starfleet, and it's like, no, they could be on another ship. There are other ships. They could be on another ship at some point. It's fine.
And the ship's on a mission that they want to be on. Like the ship is their goal is to study stellar cartography, and so they're on the ship that's doing stellar cartography. Like,
they could all be transferred to, I don't know, a ship called the Reliant or something. Nothing bad will happen to them.
Nothing will happen on the Reliant.
But it's also kind of my problem with them trying to front load all the original series crew on the ship before Pike, gets put in the chair. Is it's like, they could have all transferred in after Kirk. I mean, the thing, that's my thing is, it's like, once Kirk came in, it's not like where No Man has gone before is necessarily like the first day Kirk has been on the ship. It doesn't seem like it is. So it's like, there's time for other people to come get transferred onto the ship. It's fine. We don't have to put them all there before Pike gets the chair.
Not uncommon to when you get a new commander to redo your executive staff. You would pick a new executive staff. So I don't understand it. Is it like you said? They just don't understand how like ships work.
Right, well, exactly.
And every series, or not every series, but Next Gen and Deep Space Nine did a really good job of that, melding the crews together. In the very first episode, you saw where they were all suddenly assigned and came from different places. Maybe one or two people knew each other or had history together, but by and large, it was a brand new crew who just happened to go forward from there.
Yeah, all the previous Treks did that. It was mostly them meeting for the first time. Original series was actually unusual in that it seemed like we were coming in after they had already started. So we're not right there on day one. But I mean, but all the other ones have basically started with day one of this new assignment. Nate, anything you want to see out of season 4?
I'm hoping it's just one puppet episode, maybe not 2 puppet episodes. I'm excited. I like puppets, and the creatures, the Jim Henson shop. I love it. I want to see it, and whatever crazy, like they slip into the yarn dimension, and that's why they're all Muppets or whatever. Okay, fine. But I want to see more strange new worlds. I want to see more exploration. And the preview we saw from New York Comic Con looks promising. They are transported somewhere they've never been before, and there's 3 M-class planets, and they need to go get parts for their broken ship. And they go to a planet, and they don't know anything about it when they land there. So great. Perfect. Let's do that. Yeah, that's Star Trek. I think that them showing us that signals that they heard us. They did listen to that internet comment. There's not enough strange new worlds. It sort of seemed like they're just hanging around their backyard.
Yeah, that is one that I've heard them directly address. So I also believe that is something that they're taking on board. And I don't necessarily think that the Puppet episode is going to be bad right off the bat. But like I say, don't make it just silly goofy the whole time. Like to me it works best if you like juxtapose something like that with something like hugely horrifically violent, and then to me that's hilarious. Like,
Yeah.
like that becomes really funny because then you can get away with things like, normally in Star Trek you wouldn't have like gore and a lot of stuff like that, but it's like when it's puppets, it's like tear them apart. Like, it's just like they're puppets. Who cares?
Yeah, just red string flying out of their mouth and nose and stuff. Yeah.
See, Nathan, I think you would like that part of The Boys.
Okay. I've
But
definitely
maybe
heard of some
just the
things that
puppet
are very
scenes.
gross on The Boys that I don't ever want to see.
Different.
Yes.
Yeah.
It will scar you. Yes.
Yeah.
All right,
Yeah,
Ryan.
it will.
Anything you want to see out of season 4?
Oh, a lot. I want number 1 to have some storylines. I want
You
them
want
to,
number 1 to be number 1?
number 1 to be number 1. Like, aside from her ex, I think the most interesting thing about her, she had a weird haircut one episode, and like, a lot of people talked about that. I want them to do something with Sam. Sam Kirk is such a great character that hasn't been really utilized, in my opinion.
Yeah, because then
Even
they
if it's just a
introduced
resolution.
Jim Kirk, and it's like Sam just is like, Sam's just kind of there now.
Yeah. No, they did. I mean, season 1 did this great thing where, like, we're getting a new crew member, Lieutenant Kirk, and everyone thinks,
It's
Kirk,
gonna
and
be
everyone,
Jim Kirk.
we all assume, and that was so brilliant, and they never really have done,
No, Sam's just there now, just so that Kirk can come on board to visit Sam, and I'm just like, no, like we wanted to learn about Sam. Like,
exactly, I mean, maybe they don't want us to get too attached to yet another character that we know is going to die.
Him we do know will die. Yes.
Yeah. But more Sam. I hate to say it, but I'm kind of fine if we get Sulu in some capacity, maybe but as a guest shot or something like that. But I know we're gonna get like a Wunderkind Chekhov. We're gonna get like this 12-year-old boy who's a prodigy.
I thought the same thing. I'm like, because they're going to be so out of it and not realize that Chekhov wasn't there from the beginning, that they're going to have Chekhov on the ship. And because they just know that they've seen an original series cast list and don't know that he came in the second season. And it's just like,
And the last thing I want is, and I think this scratches both my itches, if they want to like keep it kind of like Federation based, but still explore strange new worlds, they can do that. There's plenty of member worlds that either were not members at this era, or we just don't know enough about, like the Tellarites. They're a founding member of the Federation, but we barely know anything about them on live action. Obviously, Prodigy has done stuff with them, but I would love more Tellarites, Bolians, Beta Z. I mean, there's just a lot of planets out there that we could visit that are in the Federation and just dive.
They're going to wind up on Bajor now that you've said that.
Well, I mean, we haven't seen the first contact with Cardassians,
right?
So that could be interesting. I don't hate that.
I just like to leave like some space for things to have happened between the end of the original season, because all these things, like even Enterprise threw in the Ferengi, where it's like all this stuff doesn't have to have happened way in the past. Like you can leave some stuff to happen between the end of the original and the beginning of Next Gen. It's fine
as long as they're smart about it. Like in Enterprise, they met Ferengi, and no one even bothered to ask, "Hey, what's your race called? Right, hey, what planet do you come from?" I mean, but yeah.
There's only so many times that we can have the wink like that before I just start getting, okay, guys, too many. But yes, I do agree. They did actually pay attention with the Ferengi thing, and they don't know what they're called. So, I mean, it kind of passes, but I don't want to do too many of that. I don't want to do too many of those things.
Yeah.
We meet the Cardassians, but we don't find out that's what they're called. Okay, fine, whatever.
But I don't. I'm sure canonically we have a date of first contact with Cardassia, but I don't know what it is.
No, I didn't. We have a lot more wiggle room with the Cardassians. Yeah. But anyway, but yeah, Next Gen they definitively say we've never seen these Ferengi before. Like, we don't know what they look like, so that's why they had to do that in Enterprise. But yeah, Stephanie, anything you want to see out of season 4?
Work.
Oh God.
Oh, I only said that because I knew it would annoy you. No, seriously, that was only said to get a reaction out of you. No, really, it's pretty much the same thing. I would love more Una, because I absolutely love how they have been presenting her in general. And now that you all have pointed out that her biggest storyline in season 3 was with Patton Oswalt's Vulcan, please give us more Una. I beg of you. Don't make that one of her biggest moments. And a little bit more exploration. Just I'm pretty much on the same page with all of you, aside from my having to be a smartass and a thorn in Nathan's side.
So, I mean, I've said, I've already said exploration. I've already said focus on the characters that they have. Although I will say to Ryan, the thing that I thought of when you were talking about introduce Sulu, it's going to be like, we need a fencing expert. And then they're going to bring in Sulu.
Oh,
That'd be hilarious.
there's one more. Resolve whether or not Mitchell is Mitchell. Yeah, that's been killing me. Is this supposed to be a new gender bent Gary Mitchell, or is this like Gary Mitchell's sister, or there's just no relation and they just happen to have two Mitchells, at the helm? What's the deal there?
You do realize it's a fairly common last name, right?
No,
I do.
There's only one last.
Yeah.
There's only 6 last names in Star Trek.
In Star Trek, we don't have any
I
repeats.
never
That
thought
is
that
true.
it was a gender bent Gary Mitchell. Like, I don't even know why you thought that.
Well, okay, you're right. Mitchell's a common name, but then also the same station, and then also the same ship. I mean, yeah, that's a lot of
all right. So, Brian, I think you have it. Like, I don't think the people writing this show know the original series well enough to know that there was a Gary Mitchell that was best friends with
completely
Kirk.
forgot that Gary Mitchell was even a character.
But it's funny enough because Ryan is segueing into something that I wanted to talk about here with
Well, there
my
you
thing.
go.
So if you're insisting on putting Kirk in here, you gotta do Gary too. And Gary is actually a character we can explore because we know so little about it. We know that they were best friends for years. And so to me, yeah, from the Academy. So, I would love to see that. So if they're gonna do stuff with Kirk, you might as well throw in Gary Mitchell too. And I would, and that's the thing. If they really want to set up like a Star Trek year one, there are 2 things they really need to pay attention to. One, again, this is McCoy wasn't the original chief medical officer in Kirk's ship. I forget the name of the guy, but in Where No Man Has Gone Before, it was a different doctor. Gary kills him when he gets superpowers, and that's why it's then McCoy after that. So
now I remember who Gary is. Okay.
Yeah, Silver Eyes. Yeah. But so they need to pay attention to that. Like, you can't have McCoy transfer onto the ship as the chief medical officer because he wasn't there in the beginning. Second, Chekhov wasn't there in the beginning. And yes, you could argue that he was just below decks or whatever and just only transferred to the bridge in the second season. But again, no reason for Chekhov, okay? So even if you insist on throwing everyone, Sulu makes sense because he was actually there in Where No Man Has Gone Before. So if you're going to do anybody, Sulu makes sense. Uhura wasn't even there in Where No Man Has Gone Before, but she could have just been not on duty that day. That's fine to explain that way. But yeah, I want them to pay attention a little bit more to what they're doing and to have a good, if you are going to introduce Sulu, have a good reason. Because with Scotty, okay, they put Scotty in. It doesn't seem like there's even a good reason to have Scotty in there. I don't know. Okay, so yeah, Scotty's learning the ropes a little bit, but did we need that? Is he important to the story? I don't really think he is. I love having Mbenga because he was another minor character from the original series, and they've fleshed him out a ton in this show, and that's one of the really good developments they've had. And even having Uhura, I didn't feel like was that big of a problem as this young intern out of the academy. But if you're gonna put in any more people, don't do it just to check a box, which is what I feel like they did with Scotty. Do it because it matters. There's something where you feel like Sulu actually makes an impact, where it's important for him to be there. And don't even put Kirk back in unless there's some reason where you feel like it's really essential that Kirk interact with them in this particular story. So that's what I want, for them to think about.
I think one of my favorite things with Scotty in this season was the fact of Kirk being like, hey, you and I kind of make a good team. And that could very easily set it up where Scotty is just kind of on the Enterprise for this particular year. I doubt they're going to not have him on the show for the next couple, but it could be a thing. He was just there because, disaster struck and he happened to be there. And then he gets pulled back onto the Enterprise when Kirk takes over because, as we saw in this season, they had established, hey, we work well together. Come back to my ship now. like realistically, I see that as a possibility. In terms of a TV show, I doubt they're going to do something like that.
Yeah. I also feel like their odds of getting their Star Trek year one is very low because this is beyond rumor, but it's not a certainty because I do have a source now actually that does know people within the studios, and all signs seem to be indicating that Paramount is going to end their relationship with Kurtzman. And like, obviously Strange New Worlds is ending and that Starfleet Academy is only going to get the 2 seasons they've already agreed to, and they're not going to get any more. And they're going to do a Star Trek Studios moving forward, which will handle all Star Trek, animation, movies, shows, all of that, which is kind of like the model that, of course, Disney has with like Marvel and Lucasfilm and that DC now has with DC Studios. And that's like where they want to go moving forward. So I don't want them to like sacrifice the present for a show that they're probably not going to get. Worry about the show you have, make these last 2 seasons as impactful as possible with the cast that you have, and don't worry about like setting up some Star Trek year one that you want to do down the road. But yeah, guys, I think we've talked a lot about this. I feel bad for any listeners who feel like we're just throwing Strange New Worlds under the bus. It does seem like we've had a lot of complaints, but I feel like season 3, I feel like we all care about this show. We all love this show and loved its start, and that we feel like it's flagging, and we want the last 2 seasons to be as strong as possible. I think that's where we're coming from on this. And of course, Paramount, I'm available if you want to give me a call. I've got thoughts. I can write scripts. Just let me know.
Same here.
Yeah. Yeah.
Hey, I'm still damn proud of that Barbie Borg storyline that I had as a kid, and I've matured since then. So.
Right. So Paramount, if you want to challenge Barbie, the movie that was very popular, it came out a couple of years ago.
Mm-hmm.
Stephanie has some thoughts. And utilize your Star Trek property to like heighten Barbie even beyond that. Even throw in a little Babylon 5 too, although you might have some rights issues. We might have to call it something else.
Yeah, I had a storyline with my Barbies where Barbie was a intentionally human-looking drone that was left abandoned on a planet for Starfleet to rescue her, and then she seduced Captain Ken and then assimilated the whole crew. And then I had another one where my Barbie and Ken doll were Sheridan and Delenn from Babylon 5. Ironically, with that one, Captain Sheridan was played by my official Star Trek Ken.
There you go.
I did not have normal Barbie storylines.
I absolutely love that, though, Stephanie. I love that that's what you were doing with your Barbie and Ken.
Until I had to play with my friends, and then I had to do normal stuff.
Let's have a tea party.
What's it called? Borgby?
Oh, that's fantastic. No, I never came up with names for my storylines. Just... Yep. I do like Borgby.
All right, well, let's say our goodbyes and let people know where they can find us. So let's start with you, Ashley.
Well, thank you again. Always love getting a chance to talk with other fans, and thank you for letting me do what I believe is my first official podcast, kind of talking about Star Trek. So it's fun. I've had a lot of ups and downs experiences in the Star Wars fandom. So I sometimes these days I'm a little bit nervous to kind of dip my toes into another fandom and kind of face the barrage of online negativity. But anytime I get a chance to sit around and talk with other geeks, it just reminds me of all the good people that there are out there in fandom and the joy that can come from watching and reading and listening to these stories and then discussing it with other geeks who are also passionate about it. So thanks for providing a good place for those sorts of discussions.
Well, thank you, Ashley. I'm honored, and I had no idea that you had never... I thought for sure either on my show or on Earth Station 1 or one of those other ones that you had talked about Star Trek at some point before.
I think I've talked about some of the Kelvinverse movies, but not really in depth about a show or something like that. So, yeah, I thank you for letting a Star Wars person have the space to explore and find that there are other wonderful franchise is set in space as well. So.
Oh yeah, no problem. Obviously this show is me talking about like every fandom. So I mean, I don't pigeonhole people. So if you ever want to talk about something else, it's perfectly fine.
Awesome.
All right, Nate.
All right. Yeah, no, it's great being here again to talk about something I actually do like. I know I have my criticisms of, but I love Star Trek and I actually do love Strange New Worlds. The first season really got me excited, and third season got me worried, and I'm hopeful for the future. So, but yeah, that's all I gotta say about that.
Ryan?
Well, internet, you can find me at your local Starbucks in the alley. Otherwise, yeah, I'm on the social medias, but that's not really going to get you much. Facebook, I hate it, but I am on Facebook. You can find me there. Just throw out an opinion, and I'll tell you why you're wrong. Also, fun fact, I do have a website that's in perpetuity frozen in the year 2019. But if you comment on it, I'll get an email saying that you did. So, that's another way to get hold of me.
Great. And Stephanie?
Well, everybody's saying you can get a hold of me, but not saying where they could get a hold of anybody. You can find me, actually, honestly, my website is probably now the better place because I do link to both my cosplay and my writing stuff. Because I go by El Crea or Lady El Crea for cosplay stuff. AK Stevens is my pen name. That's Stevens with a PH. And akstevens.com is my my writing page, which I update very sporadically. But it is more recent than 2019, only because I only started it last year. No, wait, this year. Yeah, it's not even a year old yet. That's kind of funny because I've had a website since like 1998, and yeah, this is just my latest one. Anyways, that's where you can find me. And like everyone else, I am happy to be here for this one because I think Strange New Worlds probably is one of my favorites of New Trek. It's got to be Strange New Worlds and Lower Decks that were my favorites, but like everything that I absolutely love, I can talk about it for hours. And I mean that both in the positive talk way and the negative talk way. But yeah, I thoroughly enjoyed this one, and for all of its quirks and potential mishaps, I'm really optimistically looking forward to the next 2 seasons and hoping that it gets a nice wrap up with, Strange New Worlds on Strange New Worlds. And more Andorians! Give me more Andorians!
All right. Ashley, Nate, Ryan, and Stephanie, thank you so much for being on the show.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And so that's it for Star Trek Strange New Worlds Season 3. What did you think about the season? What did you think about our commentary on it? What do you think about Star Trek winding down with Paramount before they open their own Star Trek studios? You can let us know in a whole bunch of different ways. One way is to email us at everything@42cast.com. You can go to our website, 42cast.com, or you can go on X, Instagram, Blue Sky, or Threads at 42cast and leave us a message in any of those places. You can also find us on Facebook at facebook.com/42cast. You can also give us suggestions for other topics that you would like for us to cover. Are there shows or movies that you want us to cover that we haven't done yet? Do you want us to do certain topics? You can let us know in any of those places as well. You can help out the show and all the shows on the ESO Network by going to the ESO Network Patreon. You can find that at patreon.com/ESO Network. You can get access to early episodes of some shows, exclusive episodes of some shows, and a whole exclusive ESO Network podcast only available to patrons. So if you have the funds to contribute, we would greatly appreciate if you would do that. My 2 other podcasts, Time Streams and Legendary Forces, remain on hiatus, but keep watching this space for more info. For those who don't know, Time Streams is my Doctor Who podcast, and Legendary Forces is my Star Wars podcast. I want to get back to both of them, but at the moment, the 42 cast and keeping that on time is my higher priority. So I hope to give you positive news soon, but definitely keep watching this space. In Watch News, not much has happened since last week. The main thing is that Beth and I have finished The Night Agent. we are still pretty happy with that series. It's still pretty exciting and engaging. Definitely looking forward to the next season. I hope they do somehow find a way to work Rose back into the story, but we'll have to see how that goes. We know a new season is coming, but that's all that we know at this point, so we'll let you know what we think when that comes out. No news on the con front. Fan Expo Chicago is tempting me greatly, but I just don't think that I'm going to have the funds to get there. I can't believe that they're getting Kurt Russell, Mr. T, and Pauly Shore at the con. For Kurt Russell, apparently it's his first convention appearance ever, which is kind of amazing. But if you wanted to just sort of like say, hey, Nathan, your childhood is going to be at a con, I mean, those are three pretty good, like, actors to have there to sort of represent my childhood. So, gonna be a little disappointed that I can't make it, but I don't think that's going to happen. I still think that the only con that I'm going to attend this year is Chicago TARDIS. But if it changes, I will let you know. All right, that's a wrap for this week. Join us back next week when Tim Allen will not be joining us. And until then, this is Nathan, signing off. You have been listening to the 42 Cast. Copyright 2026 Vault 42 Media. Got a question for the ultimate answer? Contact us at everything@42cast.com. Theme music is Sharper Swords by Brandon Ellis. Check out more of his work at www.cityfires.com. The 42 Cast is a proud member of the ESO Network.
This has been a broadcast of the ESO Network. Be part of the crew and help support our shows by donating to our ESO Patreon or by shopping at the TeePublic store, which can all be found at www.esonetwork.com. The ESO Network, your station for all things geek.